Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is story about what if after the battle of the bridge Naruto life takes an unexpected twist as he learns he can find true happiness. Part 1. Before I start, please do support for more amazing content and comments for part 2. Do consider to subscribe my channel and share my video to your friends and check out the description as well. Let's start the video. Naruto looked down at the two bodies laying side by side. He had tears in his eyes as he looked at Zabuza and Haku dead form. It was snowing and Naruto looked at the man who had his arm on his shoulder. His sensei Kakashi. Naruto asked, "Can I have a few moments alone, Kakashi?" "Please." Kakashi nods and walks away to check on Sakura and Sasuke as well as the client Tazuna. "Naruto thought you said you wished we could have met in a different situation, Haku." "I as well do. For the first time in my life I felt someone actually knew how I felt." "Then there's you, Zabuza. You acted like you did not care for Haku, but deep down you cared for her like she was your daughter." "Yes, I know your secret, Haku. I can smell the difference." "Why did you both have to die like this?" A voice interrupted his thoughts, and said, "What if you could save them and still have them in your life, would you take it?" Naruto looked around and saw no one around him and realized it must be Kyuubi and said yes. Kyuubi said, "Think your answers, boy. If you want to save them, then do as I say. Place your hands over both their hearts and hold them there until I tell you. You will feel a small tingle in your arms, but ignore it. I will explain what is going to happen and how they will live Aegean later. Go ahead and bury their bodies as they don't need them anymore and take their equipment and weapons. It will come in handy later." Naruto thought, "Why should I trust anything you say?" Kyuubi said, "Either you believe me and do as I said, or you don't and never see either Aegean. It's your choice." And the voice went away and Naruto heard footsteps coming and Naruto leaned down over them and laid a hand on both of their bodies, and soon felt a small tingle in his arms. Sakura asked as she walked over, "Are they dead?" Naruto ignored her and kept his hands there. Kakashi looked at him and asked, "What happened, Naruto?" Naruto closed his eyes and said, "Somehow I became friends with them during battle. I understood them." Sadly, Kakashi smiled a sad smile knowing from experience what that was like, and Sakura asked, "How can you do that? You are an idiot." And she turned and walked back over to Sasuke, who was sitting against the bridge. Naruto heard Kyuubi say to quit and he looked around and saw Zabuza's sword and picked it up and walked back over to their bodies and created a few cage bunshin and said, "I'm going to take care of their funeral, Kakashi. I will return later tonight or in the morning." As the clones picked up the bodies, Kakashi sighed and said, "You don't have to do that, Naruto. We can help and you don't need to be alone right now." Naruto looked at him and said, "Kakashi, Sakura would rather piss on their graves than give them a proper burial since they hurt Sasuke, and I can't deal with his ego right now. Take care of them and the client. If something happens to me, Konoha will throw a party." As he walked away without saying anything else, taking the two bodies with him, Kakashi watched them leave and Sasuke walked over and said, "Where's the dope going?" Kakashi looked at him and saw the Sharingan and said, "Congrats on activating your bloodline. He's getting rid of their bodies. Let's get this mess cleaned up so we can hurry up and finish the mission." And Sakura just humped and turned to follow Sasuke and Kakashi. Naruto soon made it back to the meadow that he first met Haku in and had the clones started to bury them. Meanwhile, while that was happening, Haku slowly opened her eyes and looked around and saw her master Zabuza laying beside her, and she looked around and saw they were in some huge chamber, and she went and checked on Zabuza. When his eyes opened, she smiled. Zabuza was confused as he sat up and asked, "Is this death?" Laughter could be heard and both looked and saw a giant cage and the figure of Kyuubi could be seen, and Kyuubi said, "Yes, you are both dead, but this is not heaven or hell. You are currently in my prison." Zabuza stood up and asked, "What is this place, and how did we get here?" "I know you're Kyuubi, but I was told you were killed by the Yondaime." Kyuubi snorted and said, "That idiot just got lucky." "Yes, I am Kyuubi, and you and the girl there both died on that bridge. The boy wanted you both to live, so I offered him a chance and told him how to bring you are here." Haku asked, "Who are you talking about, and what is this place exactly?" Kyuubi sighed and said, "That's it. Sit down, shut up and watch the sky and you will know everything." A voice from behind them said, "What the hell? Where am I?" Making everyone turn and see Naruto standing there, Haku asked Naruto, "Is that you?" Kyuubi screamed, "Silence. Everyone sit down and watch the damn movie on the sky above. When it's done I will answer all questions. If you don't I will eat you all." Leaking enough killer intent to make all three freeze, they quickly sat down and saw the ceiling change, and then they saw a white room, and then the room shifted and they saw a red-headed woman laying in a hospital bed, and she looked weak and tired, and a nurse said, "Congrats, it's a boy. What will you name him?" A man walked into the view and said his name's going to be Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze. And he had a smile on his face, but all three people had their eyes popping out because they saw that it was the Yondaime Hokage of Konoha. Naruto asked, "That's my father?" Kyuubi said, "Yes, and the woman with red hair is your mother Uzumaki Kushina, my sister." Making all three look at the cage and gasp as the Kyuubi changed from the demon fox to that of a man with red hair and red eyes, and his cloths were that of a standard jounin. Naruto stood up and asked, "Wait a minute, if my mother is your sister, then why did you attack Konoha, and who or what are you and what am I?" The man sighed and said, "My real name is Uzumaki Sherlock. I am the older brother and only sibling of your mother, and I am the prince of the land of Whirlpool, or that is what humans call our land. Your mother left our land on a mission and met your father and fell in love. She was supposed to return a year after she left for her long-term mission to Konoha, but instead of her return we received a letter from her saying she found someone she loves and was not returning to our land. Mother and father were heartbroken, and because I did not like it one bit, and felt no man was good enough for her, I went to Konoha, but if I went in my normal human form then it would take me about half a month to have gotten there. I transformed into my kitsune form to get there quicker. When I got close to Konoha they thought I came to attack and attacked me, and when you got nearly 300 ninja fighting agents me I could not change back out of my kitsune body. I had no choice but to keep attacking, and then with the genjutsu I lost most of my normal thoughts and acted on instincts. Now watch the rest of the movie. Everyone was stunned, and then they watched as Kushina started to lose color, and then alarms went off and nurses came in to help her, and they watched as she died and watched as her form changed a little, and then Naruto father do a few hand signs and his mother returned to her normal look. Then they watched as a man came and told Minato that Kyuubi was coming, and then watched part of the battle and the ceiling. Then the council voting what to do about him, and then the abuse and treatment he got. They watched as everything in his life happened, and then watched as finally him meeting Haku, the battle on the bridge, and then 2 of their deaths, and then watched as Kyuubi told him what to do and Sakura, and then watched as Naruto buried them. When it was over they all looked at each other. Haku was in tears, Zabuza wanted blood, and Naruto was sad and then went into shock as Haku hugged him. Sherlock said, now that you all know about Naruto life you asked nephew what you are. The truth is you are a kitsune. Even though your father was human you are still kitsune. Think of it like a bloodline that does not dilute, and we are not demons as humans call us because of our power, but just about everyone in the land of Whirlpool is one. We are a decent-sized kingdom, about 1/2 the size of the Fire Nation, but it's so hard to get there that no one comes there, and we pretty much keep to ourselves. The only other creatures in our kingdom is the dragons, who are our allies. You are also the prince of the kingdom. Your grandparents are the ruling power there for at least another 100 years or so, at which time I was supposed to take over, but seeing as I am sealed in you now thanks to your father summoning the Shinigami to help seal me, I can't take over, but I can help train and advise you so you can take over in my place. I would have talked to you sooner, but the seal prevented it, and after you used my power to fight Mizuki, and then on the bridge it cracked enough for me to contact you. Zabuza asked, so why did you tell your nephew to bring us here, and what is going to happen? Sherlock looked at them and said, I have a proposition for both you and the girl. The kid here has had a bad life as you have all saw, and he has not been treated the way he should, so what I want is for you both to train him in each of your skills, including your bloodline Haku. After you train him to be equal or better than you, I want Zabuza to take over as his official bodyguard. I know you are wondering how you can do that now that you're dead. Your bodies are dead but your souls are not. Our family has a special ability that allows us to absorb the souls of people if they have not been dead for longer than 24 hours. As such, you can have your souls put into a cage bunshin, or a blood clone body. If your clone body dies you just wind up back here as long as Naruto lives. Naruto said, so basically you had me make them slaves. How could you? Kyuubi sighed and said, no Kit. You said you wished for a way to give them a different situation. I gave you that chance. Zabuza and Haku are not dead and can live a semi-normal life instead of just going to the other side. Now they don't have to fear hunter neens and have a halfway normal life. If you chose to, you could train under them and help Zabuza fix the myths like he wanted, and Haku would still be able to serve her precious person, so everyone wins basically. Zabuza listened and asked, okay, I understand the training and the bodyguard deal, but what is Haku supposed to do and how will she be able to help him with her bloodline? Kyuubi smirked and said, simple. Where I want you to be his bodyguard, I would like for Haku to be a little closer to him. You both saw what it was like for him. Hell, I think that hug she gave him was probably the 4th one he's had his whole life, so what I want if she agrees to it is for her to become his princess. Haku blinked and looked at Naruto and asked, so let me get this straight. You want me to be his wife? Kyuubi said yes. Most of our family's marriages are arranged, and as Naruto's closest living relative currently I am trying to arrange a marriage for him since he will have to be married before he can take over as king, and I believe from what I saw through his memories that you and him would be good together since he already has some feelings for you and I believe you do as well. That pink-haired bitch is someone I would rather see die than get a position of power over our kingdom because she would ruin it along with most of the others you saw. You must understand that you will have to have children with him eventually because they will be the heir to the kingdom, and you will have to have them before he takes over as king, and he needs a wife that can fight just as good as he can. Don't worry about how you have children because I plan to have the kid here go to Whirlpool country as soon as he's ready, and once you do you will both get a more permanent body, but if it is killed you would come back here Aegean and get a permanent body Aegean, but I won't tell you how we do it because it's something only the king and queen knows, so until you take over to have to understand. The only difference from your normal body would be you will live a lot longer unless he is killed, and Zabuza and Haku will have an animal form like me and Naruto does. As for how he would get your bloodline, all you have to do is kiss him and accept my offer and I would do the rest automatically while you kiss to get your bloodline. Naruto asked, wait, what do you mean I have an animal form and what will TR be? Kyuubi said, close your eyes and do the hand signs ox, monkey, dog, And kitsune which looks like this and then you will transform. Naruto tried it, and after he did the kitsune sign he went up in a puff of smoke, and when it disappeared it showed everyone that he was a three-tailed blonde kitsune with red highlights. Kyuubi said to turn back, just focus your chakra into your chest and think release, and you will go back. As for what animal those two will be, I can't say until you go to Whirlpool because it's our laws. I am bending them enough already to get in trouble by telling you what I have. Zabuza asked. I take it he is the only heir, correct? If so, will he have to take more than one wife? Naruto asked. Don't I get a say in this? It is my life. All three people said no. And Naruto sighed and walked over and set down against the wall. Kyuubi said yes, he is the last one. It would be up to Haku if he had any other wives because that is considered family matters and the females of our kingdom take care of those while the males take care of the protection. I am not saying women don't have rights, far from it actually. In everything but sex and childcare, men and women are equals in everything. In those two areas the women have the final say in the matter, but while they are weakened by caring for children or choosing other mates for the males have to provide protection for the children and their mates, but the most he could have is 3 counting Haku if she accept, but she would be an equal to him. However, any wives he had would have to be like you and Haku are now, because we feel our wives are bound not only by law but body and soul, and also makes it where you can talk to each other without talking out loud. That's why we mate for a lifetime. Zabuza looked at Haku, who was looking at Naruto, and asked, so what do you think, Haku? Haku looked at Zabuza and said, I do as you please. Zabuza frowned and said no. This is something you must decide. I already made my decision, but it's time for you to make yours. Haku looked at Naruto and said, I do like him, but I don't know if it's love yet. I think it might be though. Zabuza looked at Naruto and said, boy, come here. Getting Naruto attention, Naruto got up and walked over, and Zabuza looked at him and grabbed him by the jacket and picked him up and said, now listen here. I am going to accept this bodyguard position, and Haku thinks she wants to be your wife, and I see her as my daughter, so you are going to treat her right. Am I understood? Shaking him, Haku looked at both of them wide-eyed, and Kyuubi had a glint in his eyes. Naruto nods and Zabuza said good. Now you are going to have to change. No more acting stupid, because I saw how good you were when pulling pranks. I also don't want you to take any shit off of anyone. If you are going to marry her, you are going to have to be respectable and proud. When we teach you our skill, you are going to wish you were in hell. Do you understand? Naruto could only nod, and Zabuza threw him on the ground and said, now kiss your fiancée so we can get started. Making both teens blush, Haku said, but I said I don't know if it's love. Zabuza looked at her and asked, do you accept me as your father? And Haku nods yes, and Zabuza said, then I arrange for you and him to be married. I saw how you blushed when you found him in the woods, and I know how you are, so don't try any of that shit on me, young lady. And laughs while both get red-faced even more. Haku waited for Naruto to stand up, and he closed his eyes and tried to make faces as to how to kiss while still a few feet away from Haku. Haku giggled by this but decided to cut him some slack and walked over and kissed him. She felt lightheaded, and Naruto felt an explosion in his head. After a few seconds, Haku pulled back and Kyuubi said, good, now you will be able to hear us when you leave here, and if you want to pull one of us, make a cage bunshin while thinking of which one of us you want, and I will do the rest, but don't try and pull me out because it will kill you, and don't do it around others unless you get inventive and get a cover story. Naruto, who was still in a daze, just nods, and Kyuubi smirked to himself. Zabuza asked, so you know tree climbing, right? I want you to go and try the same thing but on water. Same rules but harder, and use your cage bunshin because what they learn you learn, or at least that's what I heard the last time I met someone who knew that jutsu. I think his name was Itachi or something like that. Naruto blinked and saw he was sitting on the ground next to where he buried the two, and he looked at the sky and got up after seeing he still had a few hours before sunrise, and he walked toward a river, and when he got there he created 30 cage bunshins and started to try and walk on water but fell in. He got up and tried it again and again and again. Several hours later Kakashi had tracked Naruto down and saw him standing on top of water, and was shocked when he saw him going through hand seals, and suddenly 4 Mizu bunshins appeared, and a few seconds later they fell back into the water, and Naruto fell to his knees panting. Kakashi was shocked as he saw Naruto not only standing on water but also doing a misjutsu, as well as having Zabuza's sword on his back and an extra holster on his leg that looked full of stuff. Deciding by the look of Naruto to stop him before he hurts himself, he walks into the clearing and said, yo. Getting Naruto attention, Naruto looked at him, while sweating, and smiled before getting up and walking to the shore, and then passed out as soon as he got on land. Kakashi's sweat drops and chuckles and thought, finally out of chakra, huh? I will ask him tomorrow. And picked Naruto up, and carried him back to the house. He had already found the graves while following Naruto's scent. When he got back to the house, Sasuke looked up and asked what happened to the dobe. Kakashi said he just ran out of chakra after burying those bodies as well as the fighting today. Sakura saw the sword and asked, what's that idiot doing with that sword? He can't even pick it up properly, more or less know how to use it. Sasuke-kun should have it. And walked over and grabbed the handle only to jump back as it shocked the hell out of her. Sakura looked at her hand and saw that it had a light burn on it, and she asked what happened. Kakashi thought for a moment, and said, well, I know that some swords have special defenses to them that won't let anyone else but the owner touch it, and since Naruto was the first to touch it after Zabuza died, I figured the defense reset for him. I know Hyatt has one that's the same way. Don't either of you try and take it or you might get hurt more. As he led Naruto up the stairs to his room. When he got there he decided to see what else Naruto got and checked his weapon holster and found senbons, a few explosive tags, kunai and shurikens, the hunter Nin's mask that was broken in half and a book on pressure points for basic medicine. He took the book and walked downstairs with it, and said, so do either of you want this book? Basic medicine. Sasuke snorted and looked away emotionally, and Sakura said, why would I need that when I got Sasuke-kun to protect me? Kakashi sighed and a voice from behind him said, I will keep it, Kakashi. Shocking him as he had not felt a presence behind him. He turned and saw Naruto standing there with a look that was pissed, and Kakashi just shrugged and handed it to Naruto, who walked back in the room and closed the door, and if anyone would have noticed they would have saw Naruto was still passed out, and Naruto changed his appearance as he knelt down, and it was Haku, and she slipped the book back into Naruto holsters and her body melted into a pile of water. Naruto was inside his mind sparring with Zabuza when Haku reappeared and Kyuubi asked, so did it work? Haku said yes. I was able to get the book back and nobody realized I was not him, or a water clone. I still can't believe that his sensei would give his stuff away to those other two. With a little anger in her voice, Naruto was punched in the face and slid beside Haku when he heard that and asked he did what. In a shocked voice, Haku looked down at him and giggled at the look on his face and said he went through your stuff and took my book on pressure points and medicine that I had. The pink-haired bitch already tried to take your sword and give it to the Uchiha but it shocked her. As she helped him up, Zabuza heard this and walked over to Naruto and said you need to start standing up for yourself, kid. I know you have been through hell but you could take both their asses out easy from what I saw. It's not easy besting ABNU as well as Chunin and Jounin like you did. Ready to go, Aegean. Somehow I am not tired, Kyuubi smirked and said, and you won't. The kid here won't get tired but his body will feel it tomorrow even though we are in his mind because his muscles will think they actually have been fighting. He won't get physically strong or fast by training in here but at least he is able to learn jutsu as well as hand-to-hand and sword skills though he will need to imagine swords but that will be later. Get back to work because you need to get strong fast, all three thought slave driver. As Zabuza punched Naruto in the stomach knocking him back. As those two got fighting, Aegean Haku turned to Kyuubi and asked what will I have to learn to be the princess of your kingdom. Kyuubi looked at her and said you already know what you need to learn. It was the lesson you taught him. If you consider my people your precious people everything will be fine. Once you get your new body you will have to practice with it but it should not be hard because it will act like your old body unless you go into your transformed state. If you want go ahead and work on your bloodline. The pipes above us have chakra in them but in this world it will act as water. Try and discover new ways to use your bloodline or make it better. After all you are going to want to spend a lot of time with your fiancé, don't you? Saying the last part with a smirk making Haku blush. Haku started to work on her bloodline and discovered he was telling the truth as she was able to do the demonic ice mirrors as well as the 1000 needles of death easily. She then got to work on a project she was working on but never had the chance to finish. Kyuubi for his part sat back and watched but in his mind he was working on Naruto body, giving him more of his chakra as well as enhancing a few other things. He thought someday nephew I will be no more but you will live on but I will stay here long enough for you to meet our family, and hopefully start your own. Hopefully me using this technique to save these two will make a small refund in your heart for me. I'm sorry. The next day when Naruto woke up he was sore as hell but he had completely recovered his chakra supply. He got up and got ready for the day but found his cloths were a little tighter on him and made his way to breakfast, and saw everyone looking at him, and Naruto said morning. As he sat down, Kakashi looked up from his book and asked so how do you feel? Naruto moved his shoulders and said like it's my birthday. Making everyone but Kakashi smile as Kakashi knew what that meant. Kakashi asked so where did you learn Miss Jutsu? Making everyone look at him, and then Naruto. Naruto sighed and said I memorized some of the hand seals you and Zabuza along with Haki used during your battles. I experimented with a few and got lucky with Mizubunshin. Kakashi shrugged thinking it could be true and Kakashi asked can you do any other Miss Jutsu besides Mizubunshin? Naruto said I saw some others but have not tried them yet since I only saw most of the hand signs. I also tried water walking but have not made any real progress with it. I can stay on it for a little while but it's tough. Kakashi eyed him for a moment and said I see. What about the book and senbons? Naruto shrugged and said after Sasuke was knocked out by Haku I thought that it might be useful to learn to use them to incapacitate enemies like Haku did and the book would help me do that as well. Sakura screeched and said how dare you say SAS and to the shock of everyone at the table Naruto hit the pressure point on her neck with his fingers knocking her out. Sasuke had an amused look on his face. Kakashi who was shocked by it was smiling behind his mask and asked where did you learn that? Naruto shrugged and said it's the same spot Sasuke and Zabuza were hit by Haku and I saw it in the book here when I glanced at it. I thought if I can get enough practice I might be able to take someone out like Haku did and her voice is making my headache worse. But he thought and Haku hit that spot on me for 9 hours last night in my sleep. Time works different there. Kakashi nods and said well don't use your teammates as a test dummy. You could have killed her if you missed the spot. Sasuke grunted and said show me that jutsu. With his Sharingan active, Naruto shrugged and did 2 hand size. In one hand he made a fist while on the other hand he stuck out his middle finger, and shoved it into his fist, making everyone but Inari red-faced. In Naruto head he heard 3 people laughing their asses off. Kakashi shrugged while holding in his laughter and said, well, today you can take Tazuna to the bridge while I work with Sasuke on his Sharingan. You got to practice yesterday. Sakura will stay here since you knocked her out, and watch Tsunami. Naruto asked, can you show me a jutsu or write one down for me to practice today? Kakashi looked up from his book and said, sorry, I don't want to overpower the team, so I can't teach you any more jutsu until the others catch up. Naruto said, but you have not taught me anything besides tree climbing. Kakashi shrugged and said, so, that's all I taught the others. And he grabbed Sasuke and left in a swirl of leaves. Naruto narrowed his eyes and thought, lying piece of shit. I have seen you teaching Sasuke privately. After he was gone, Naruto looked at Tazuna and said, you ready, old man? Tazuna smiled and nodded and got his things, and they both left. Inari looked at Sakura, who was passed out on the table, and got an evil glint in his eyes and ran to his room and came back a few moments later with some ink, and Tsunami asked, what are you doing, Inari? Inari smiled and said, I just thought I would give her a present for everything she's done for us. Tsunami sighed but could not tell her son no after he finally acted happy Aegean and left the room as to not see what was going to happen. She later wished she would have. Inari pushed her back in the chair and took the ink and used it to cover her lips as well as her eyebrows and drew a picture of the bridge on her forehead with the words thank you under it. When Naruto and Tazuna got to the bridge, most of the village had came out to help, and Naruto looked over the side of the bridge and got an idea and said, hey old man. Give me about 3 minutes and I will be back. Okay. And he saw Tazuna nod. Naruto jumped over the side and walked down one of the support beams, and then used his mass Kagebunshin no jutsu to create around 400 clones. He then thought of Zabuza and made one of him, and a moment later one of Haku. Naruto then said, okay, work with these guys while I keep an eye on the old drunk. Is that alright? Haku and Zabuza both looked at each other, and felt their bodies and shook their heads, and Naruto ran up the side of the bridge and started to help carry stuff around to speed things up and also train. Zabuza pointed his finger and said, okay, the left half works with me and the right with Haku. And they all screamed yes. Zabuza then had them while standing on water work on the Mizubunshin and the hidden mist jutsu. Haku took her half and said, okay, I want you each to try and make ice by using your new bloodline. Start with a fluid motion and use the water around you and it should be easy. If you are almost out of chakra, dispel so Naruto-kun gets all the info. And they all started to work. About 5 hours later, Sakura and Tsunami came with lunch and everyone had a good laugh at Sakura's expense because the ink Inari used was permanent, and her forehead and lips were beat red and blue from trying to get it off. Naruto asked, where's Inari? Sakura said he's hanging around somewhere. With a creepy smile on her face. Inari was currently hanging from the ceiling in his room with ninja wire holding him in place, and a lump on his head. Naruto shrugged and took a sandwich and ate it, and Sakura said, I wish that fog would leave. It makes me uneasy. As she looked at the fog just barely under the bridge, Naruto shrugged as he finished eating, knowing it was the hidden mist jutsu, and pulled his sword off his back and tried to hold it in the style Zabuza had showed him in his head, though it was harder, but because of his minor growth spurt it was easier to walk with and hold. Sakura just rolled her eyes and said, idiot, quit trying to act cool. And went to hit him, but Naruto put the sword up and blocked her punch with the side of it. Sakura became pissed and started an all-out attack on Naruto, who blocked each and every one of her hits with almost no trouble. Sakura soon started to run out of energy, but her anger would not let her calm down, so she ran at Naruto with everything she had in one punch, and Naruto smirked and replaced himself with a Mizubunshin, and when Sakura hit it, her hand went right through his head, and at first she was white as a ghost, thinking she actually killed him, until she felt someone hit her in the neck, Aegean, knocking her out. Naruto, who was standing behind her fallen form, thought, I am sure glad Hakuchen taught me that one first. For the next few days, Naruto discovered that he was basically being thrown to the side by Kakashi. Naruto had gotten to the point he used a Kagebushin to henge into a fox and run through the forest, and discovered Kakashi was teaching Sasuke several techniques as well as weight training with his personal weights. Naruto felt cheated, but he soon found a way around that. Apparently his uncle knew something about sealing and had him take a shuriken and tie it to each of his arms and legs after applying a seal to it to increase the weight based on how much chakra you put in it. Zabuza also made him put it on the sword also. Sakura was getting more restless because luckily Kakashi had her do guard duty every other day, but when Naruto asked why does Sasuke get out of doing his share of the work, all 3 of his teammates looked at him like he was crazy. Zabuza and Haku both created a hit list off of what they had been watching, and both have increased Naruto training. Naruto had gotten to the point he can use Zabuza's sword pretty well now, but it was not mastered yet, but it was gaining fast and his muscles were getting stronger from the weight training, and his sword play having improved also with the help of 600 Kagebunshins. Naruto chakra control had gone up through the roof because Zabuza had Naruto clones water walking for 2 hours a day while working off the basic of the leaf balancing that they saw in his memories from Irika and modified them. Now they were up to small rocks. Naruto's use of Haku bloodline had increased as well. He could use the 1000 needles of death, as well as making senbons out of ice, but the demonic ice mirrors were still out of his league currently. Naruto had followed Zabuza's instructions and found Gato hideout, and quickly went through and found some money as well as cloths, and with both Zabuza and his uncle's help he learned the basic of storage sealing. However, it was not all fun and games. Flashback. Naruto had followed Zabuza instruction and found Gato base, and he was approaching it when he heard voices, so he quietly went and started sneaking around to see what was going on. He soon discovered about 30 of the mercs they had ran off had returned to the hideout, and one new person was there. Naruto looked at the new person and saw he had an IWA headband on with a slash in it. Deciding to listen in, he set agents to wall and heard one man say, "I say we go back and kill them all and have our fun with the woman." And several men cheered at this. The one with the IWA headband said, "I agree we should go back, but first I think we should make an example not to mess with us. I have observed the last few days that the Konoha Nin Sharingan Kakashi is privately training the last Uchiha of Konoha to use his bloodline as well as personal training, and he has the other two switch back and forward on guarding the bridge builder and his family. Today is the blonde boy's day off, and according to you all he was one of the main powerhouses, so we should watch out for him, but the girl is useless. I say tomorrow while the blonde is with the bridge builder we pay a little house visit and take the girl and that woman and do as we please and kill the little boy. After that we will set a trap for when the old man returns he dies in an explosion. Without their client the Konoha Nin will leave, especially after they find the body of their female teammate, and then we can do as we please to the village. Who agrees with me, or would you all rather take the chance to run into Kakashi and the blonde Asian?" Naruto heard this and thought, we can't let them do that to Tazuna and his family. Zabuza said, "I agree." Haku said, "I also agree, Naruto-kun. I hate men who think of women as only sex toys. Let us out, and we will help take them out." Naruto nods and created 50 cage bunshin and had them rush into the room where the men were and start fighting while he made one for Haku and one for Zabuza. Naruto would have handed Zabuza his sword, but Zabuza had already learned that if anyone including him touches it besides Naruto he got shocked and would return to the seals, so he took a pair of kunia from Naruto and Haku took some saban needles and they went in to join the fighting. The IWA Nin saw the blonde come in, had snuck around, and when he saw Zabuza and Haku go into the room where the mercs were leaving the blonde alone he thought that was the real one, but then his eyes got wide and said, "So the yandame had a son. I can tell you're his son by one look. I bet I can get a great reward for killing you." And he charged at Naruto. Naruto, who had turned and saw the Nin coming at him, and asked, "How did you get behind me and find me?" The IWA Nin was throwing punches and kicks at Naruto, who was jumping out of the way, and said, "I sensed you the moment you approached, and said what I said to draw you into a fight. Your stealth sucks." And he pulled out a kunia and tried to stab Naruto, but Naruto had blocked it with his sword, which he pulled off his back after getting enough of an opening to do so. The Nin was stronger than Naruto, and was easily matching Naruto in power when Haku came back to check on Naruto after all his clones had been destroyed and her and Zabuza had either killed or incapacitated all the merc, and she saw Naruto fighting a ninja who looked to be a Chunin level at least, and she threw her last saban needle into his back at a point that would paralyze him for life. When the Nin felt the needle in him he lost all the strength he had on his kunia, and Naruto was pushing with everything he had. The moment the Nin's legs started to give out, and with the force of the pushing and the Nin falling, Naruto decapitated him along the length of the blade. As his head fell away from his body, Naruto turned white as a ghost, and Haku gasped, and Zabuza walked in the room and could tell what happened and asked first kill. And Naruto was shaking, and Zabuza said, "Kid, I won't lie to you. It's never easy, but think of it this way. If you had not killed him, then he would have killed you and then killed your teammates, and then old man and his family, and who knows who else. You heard what his plan was. You don't come up with a plan like that if you don't intend to follow it. You did not kill him. You saved everyone he would have killed." Haku had hugged Naruto in the middle of the speech and Naruto was crying, but after he heard Zabuza he asked, "Do you hate me now? Am I a monster?" Haku slapped him and said, "You are not a monster. You showed true strength by protecting your precious people. I would do the same thing. It's my fault he died also because I hit him in the back to save you." And then she realized that was her actual first kill also because it was her fault, but she said, "I did it to save you who are my precious person. Come on and let's check this place out and find you some new cloths since those are covered in blood." And flashback. After searching every room for valuables, weapons and stuff like that, Naruto had used his clone army to bring everything of value to the village, and dressed in his new cloths he said, "I found Gato base and brought all of this stuff to you so that way it will help you recover." And the people cheered and nobody noticed Naruto had about 6 scrolls of things for himself, though nobody cared either. When Naruto walked into the house that night everyone looked at him strangely. Would you if a guy who thrives in orange walked in with a pair of black pants and a gray long-sleeve shirt with a sleeveless vest on over it, and his lower half of his face covered just like Zabuza had his, and a huge sword on his back? Kakashi had actually dropped his book, and if it were not for his blue eyes and blonde hair they would have thought he was a mini Zabuza. He also did not have on ninja sandals but rather combat boot. Sasuke asked, "Where did you get the cloths from, Naruto?" Naruto smirked under his mask and said, "I went and did the people of Wave a favor and found Gato base and got everything I thought valuable from it." And he saw his teammates get a greedy look, and then Naruto said, "And I gave it all to the people of Wave in the middle of the village. I just found some cloths that I thought would fit me as payment." And saw all of them get a look of despair while Tazuna and his family were happy. Naruto started up the stairs when Sakura saw the scrolls and asked, "What about the scrolls?" making everyone look at him. Naruto shrugged and said I got about 20 changes of cloths, and since I found a book that told the basic of storage sealing, I read how to seal the cloths in it so I would not have to take such a big pack. I need to learn something since nobody wants to teach anything. Sakura screamed, what are you talking about? Kakashi taught us tree climbing. Naruto sighed and said, Sakura, what good would chakra control do you besides make you a little faster and stronger longer if you can't do nothing but punch stuff because your teacher is too busy playing favorites? As he walked up to his room and slammed the door, Sakura looked shocked and turned to see Sasuke, who was acting as if nothing was wrong, and Kakashi was reading his book, and Sakura asked, you're not playing favorites, are you, Kakashi's sensei? Kakashi just looked up from his book and asked him, did you say something? Sakura could not believe her sensei acting like that. Sasuke smirked and said, what does it matter? I'm an Uchiha and he's nothing. His smirk brought hearts to Sakura's eyes and she forgot what she was mad about. Kakashi was thinking about what Naruto said and thought, could he be right? Am I really leaving him and Sakura alone and focusing on Sasuke? I do owe it to Obito to make sure his family goes on, because if Itachi comes back he would kill Sasuke, so Naruto will just have to get over it. I feel bad for it, but I can make up for it after I'm done with Sasuke. Naruto sighed as he went to sleep that night, and surprisingly he did not go to where the only true people who cared for him was. Instead he found himself in a white hallway. Naruto looked around and saw a door at the end of the hallway and walked toward it, and when he opened the door he was blinded by even more light, and then his eyes adjusted, and he saw what looked to be some sort of security room or something, and he walked inside and looked around and saw a monitor that showed inside the seal, and then another monitor that showed what was going on outside of his body. He looked around and a voice behind him said welcome, making him turn and faint after seeing who was behind him. A few minutes later he awoke and saw himself standing there, but this person was different. This person had kitsune ears and tails and was a little taller than he was. Naruto asked, who are you? The figure smiled and said, I'm your inner self. I'm the one who convinced you to act like an idiot, and I am also the one who has been keeping our dim-witted uncle from blowing the hell out of our body by sending so much chakra into us. I brought you here to tell you I am going to insert into your memory a few jutsu I watched in our memories, and that will give you a chance to get more learned. You will know how to do them and what they do, but you need to learn them, and I also want you to talk to Hakuchen about us learning one-hand seals. If that damn Cyclops does not get his head out of his ass soon, we might have to fight him, or his little star pupil. One-hand signs are different for each person, but the seals are the same, but the chakra usage is different, and it makes the Sharingan useless. I don't know if we will meet Aegean, but go have some fun and make sure you spend some time with Haku outside of the seal and give Zabuza some time out as well. And then the room went black. Naruto opened his eyes and saw Haku sitting beside him, worried as was Zabuza and Kyuubi from his cage. Naruto slowly stood up and said that was weird. Haku asked what happened. You fell asleep nearly 2 hours ago, and you just now got here. Worriedly, Naruto got up and said I met myself, as strange as that sounds, and he said I was going to get some new jutsu he's been working on in my head, and he wants you to teach me one-hand signs so that way if I fight a Sharingan I have an advantage. Kyuubi smirked and said that's not bad of an idea. If you learn them I can also teach you some of our family jutsu as well, since your control is nearly good enough. Everyone agreed with that, and they started to work on it, and using the basic henge, Kage Bunshin, Mizubunshin, replacement, Sexy no Jutsu which made Zabuza blush and Haku punch him, hidden miss jutsu, and surprisingly he was able to make a sheet of ice and adjust it to do what he wanted with a little control and imagination. The next day when Naruto got up, Zabuza had a mission for him, as did Haku, and Naruto decided to see if Kakashi would help him. He went downstairs early and saw Kakashi reading his book while everyone was asleep. Naruto decided to get straight to the point and said, Kakashi, I know you don't want to teach me anything, but I was wondering if you can help me with one thing I am working on. I know you can summon dogs like you did Agent Zabuza, and I want to work on my stealth, so I was wondering if you could summon one dog that can talk and understand human and let me work with him today while you work with Sasuke. Kakashi glanced at him and put his book in his pocket and thought it over, and Naruto saw the look that he had and knew what the answer was and said, forget it. I already know your answer. And walked out of the house. Kakashi thought, well, I was thinking about it, but I don't want to use Puku in that way since he's the only one I know that would do it. And shrugged his shoulder to reach for his book, but it was gone, and he started to look for it but could not find it, and he was about to go after Naruto when Sasuke came and asked, so what are you going to teach me today? Kakashi glanced up and said, stealth. I want you to find and follow Naruto, and see if he has my book. If he does, I want you to take it back and bring it to me, but don't get discovered doing it. Sasuke nodded and left, and Kakashi thought, well, this way I can help him get stronger and also keep an eye on Naruto. He's been weird lately. Naruto had went into the woods and had started doing his kata for training with his sword when he felt someone in the woods, and Naruto sighed and said, what do you want, team? Making Sasuke flinch, Sasuke said, fight me? And led down and got into a fighting stance. Naruto looked at him, and did one-hand seals behind his back and leaned against his sword that was still a foot taller than him and said no, and Sasuke felt his arms go limp on his side as a pair of needles embedded themselves in each arm, immobilizing them. Naruto turned and said, have Kakashi take them out, or you may lose the ability to use your arms permanently. And then he melted into a pile of water, as did the two clones that were on the side of Sasuke. Sasuke was pissed and tried to move his arms but was unable to, and he could not pull the needles out with his teeth because they were too far away. He had no choice but to go to Kakashi. Naruto for his part was happy on the inside because it turned out that his inner self was right, because Sasuke did not notice when he made 3 Mizabunchen or when he replaced himself doing one-hand seals. He decided today he would treat himself, so he went deep into the woods and summoned Haku out and sat down and said, "So let's talk and get to know each other better, Haku-chan." Haku giggled and said, "You're still hopeless, Naruto-kun." As she pressed her lips to his, shocking him, and when she pulled back he was confused as hell. Naruto asked, "Why do you say that?" Haku smiled and said, "I know almost everything about you and have already told you my life. You want to know why I agreed to marry you? It was because you're kind, caring, understanding, cute, and I feel like you complete me. Let's just sit here and hold each other." As she sat down between his legs and leaned back against him, and he smelled her hair and asked, "How is it you scent is that of your real body? I thought for sure it would have been mine." Haku looked up and said, "Who knows, my little kitsune? Who knows? You know, I think idiocy runs in your family. Your uncle is the same way sometimes. You should hear him sometimes in there. By the way, I know I am going to be happy on our wedding night." With a blush on her cheek, and reached into Naruto's pocket and pulled out Kakashi book, and Naruto got wide-eyed after he realized what she meant and muttered Irohime, making Haku blush even more as she started to read. Naruto asked, "How come you wanted me to make Kakashi book disappear so you could read it?" Haku said, "Well, you know how I told you I was a boy. I do that to everyone, and I learned if I have a copy of this book with me and read it, everyone thinks I am a guy, and over time I actually started reading them, but I have only read volumes 2 and 5. This is the latest volume, number 16. Read it with me." And she leaned back Asian and held it where Naruto could read over her shoulder. Every time he started to pass out she would stab him with a saban, making him forget about passing out, and soon got out of having nosebleeds as well. When Sasuke got to the house he had to kick the door until someone opened it, and it was Inari that opened the door and asked, "What happened to you?" making everyone look at him and Sakura scream out his name. Kakashi sighed and said, "Looks like your stealth failed." As he got up and walked over and looked at Sasuke's arms and raised an eyebrow and thought, he's getting pretty good at pressure points. Kakashi then took them out carefully and said, "Explain." Sasuke tried to move his arms and Kakashi said, "They want work for about a day, so get talking." Sasuke just said, "The idiot got lucky." Kakashi chuckled and said, "No, he's getting good. Too good actually." As he realized how good he's getting. Then, to the shock of everyone, he left in a swirl of leaves. Naruto was relaxing when he felt Haku stiffen and did a few hand signs, and a sheet of ice appeared and Haku dropped the book on it, and it disappeared and the ice melted. Then Naruto felt it. Kakashi was coming and he looked at Haku, who had hinged into Naruto, and pulled out a saban needle and said, "Trust me. I bet he wants to know how you're getting so good at pressure points." And she jabbed the saban in his leg in one of his points, and pulled out another needle. Kakashi arrived a few moments after that and said, "Yo." As he looked at Naruto laying on the ground with his back to a tree and a saban in his leg, while another Naruto sat there with another saban, and it drove it into Naruto's leg and asked, "Can you move your leg now?" Naruto said no. "They are both numb now." And the clone Haku pulled them out and said, "Let me know when the fox heals it so we can try Aegean." Kakashi walked over and kicked the clone, dispelling it, and missed the pissed look on the real Naruto face as he said, "So that's how you're getting better at pressure points? Using your body as a test subject since the fox's chakra heals you fast?" Naruto snorts and said, "Yeah. It's all I could come up with since I can't get any help with my training." Sarcastically, Kakashi sighed and said, "What's with you all of a sudden and training?" Naruto looked at him and said, "I'm tired of everyone calling me an idiot because of the fox. I'm tired of everyone treating me like a plague. I'm tired of being beat to hell. I'm tired of doing everything I can and never get any thanks. I saved your life when we first met Sabuza and you gave the credit to Sasuke, who was ready to abandon you and run scared. It's bad enough you let Sakura attack me without saying anything to her, and you playing favorites with Chichen-s, but you won't even lift a finger to try and train me." And then, to the shock of Kakashi, Naruto got up and started to walk away, ignoring the fact he should not be moving for a day. Kakashi went to reach for him to stop him when Sasuke came walking up and said, "Teach me," causing Kakashi to look at him and away from Naruto. Kakashi sighed and said, "What?" and suddenly Sasuke went up in a puff of smoke, making Kakashi realize he was just tricked by a genin. Kakashi turned to follow Naruto, but lost his trail after it left the clearing. He looked around and thought, what the hell? I did not see him make a cage bunshin and his trail ends here, so he has figured a way to trick my senses. About a mile away from Kakashi, Naruto was on the ground panting and thought, damn it. I still can't do that right yet. As the ice mirror melted away behind him. After a few moments he resummoned Haku, who made another small piece of ice and the book fell out of it, and she said, "I had it hidden in a tree using my ice shushin to take it there and bring it here." And then they both sat down and started reading Aegean. The next day the bridge had been finished, and Team 7 started to leave after saying their goodbyes, and Naruto was busy in his thoughts that he failed to realize as he was walking everyone was watching him do one hand signs with a glossed over look on his face even though he was keeping up with the others, and when Sakura went to hit him he acted on instinct and stepped away from her hit, never even stopping doing hand signs. Sakura after 2 hours of this said, "That's it, what are you doing, Naruto? It's getting on my nerves." And she had stopped crossing her arms defiantly, but what happened next shocked everyone as two Naruto appeared and one grabbed Sakura from behind while the other grabbed her feet and continued walking even though she was fighting to get free, and Naruto still had the glossed over look. Kakashi raised his covered eye and looked at them and thought, how did he learn to do one hand signs for cage bunshin? Naruto stopped and said, "Well, are we going? I need to talk to the Hokage about something." And started walking even faster. Kakashi said, "No, I think we should stop and rest a little while." Naruto looked at him and said, "Fine." As he walked over and started to do slashes into a tree, getting his body more used to using such a big sword, Kakashi said, "Naruto, stop training and rest." Naruto snorts and said, "Why? So next time you're not around someone can kill me." As he continued to work on it, Kakashi had a bad feeling and asked what happened. Naruto looked at him and said, "First," and went back to working on the tree, ignoring the looks his two teammates were sending him, trying to figure out what he was talking about. Kakashi realized exactly what he meant and wondered what happened and asked, "How did it happen?" Naruto sighed and said, "Since I went to find you to see if you would help me with a jutsu, and I found you sucking up the Uchiha as over there, giving him your personal weights as well as teaching him jutsu, I decided to do something productive, so I decided I would try and find Gato Base and see if I could find anything there to help with my training as well as give the people of Wave back their stuff, but when I got there some of the guys we ran off of the bridge were there, and they were planning on attacking the village as well as killing Tazuna family while I was at the bridge with Tazuna and Sakura there with Inari and Tsunami. Apparently I was not the only one who noticed you pampering the team every day. One of the guys turned out to be a former IWA Nin, and guess what? With just one look at me I found out who my dad was, since I am the spitting image of him minus the whiskers. I see you already knew, huh? Chalk up another thing I am pissed at you about. Anyways, with my cover blown since my stealth was not good enough I had to fight. Luckily between my mass cage bunshin no jutsu and my sword practice I was able to beat them all to a pulp, but I wound up killing the IWA Nin. Oh, and by the way, in case you have not realized it yet, Sharingan Kakashi. This is a cage bunshin body and I am actually at the gates of Konoha right now. CYA. And he went up in smoke followed by the other two. Kakashi was wide-eyed and said, "We move now." And got up and took off through the trees, and Sakura and Sasuke both looked at each other before jumping into the trees after him. At Konoha Naruto walked through town, and after he got the info from the cage bunshin that Kakashi knew who his dad was by the look on his face, he decided to have a little revenge as he had 3 cage bunshins out, and he had the one of Kakashi pull a Hinata imitation in the middle of the road, and Sasuke walked over and pulled his mask off and started to kiss, though Naruto was not looking, and then the Sakura clone started to scream, "That's right. Sasuke Uchiha is off the market now as he has fallen in love with his sensei Kakashi. They plan to get married after he makes Chunin." Getting the attention of everyone around, and a crowd was starting to form, and Kakashi and Sasuke, after getting at least 75 people to see their makeout session, jumped up on the roof and once out of view went up in smoke. Sakura and Naruto quickly made it away from the gawking crowd, and when they got close to the tower Naruto recreated Kakashi and Sasuke and continued on their way. After they walking into the Hokage office, the Hokage looked up from his paperwork and said, "So Team 7, how was your mission?" Sasuke closed the door and locked it, getting a raised eyebrow from the Hokage before they all went up in smoke, and the henge Naruto had on covering his new cloths and sword as well, and Naruto said, "We need to talk, old man. I have a lot of questions and you have a lot of explaining, and I came back ahead of my team to get those answers." In a stern voice that was on the edge of pissed, the third asked Naruto, "Is that you?" Naruto snorts and said, "Yeah, it's me. Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze, son of Minota Namikaze and Kushina Uzumaki. By the way, that C rank was actually an A rank, but we completed it, but I made my first kill on the mission, but the Sharingan dickhead was too busy fucking the Uchiha to pay attention to know that before I had my clones tell him when I was walking through the gates. They should be here this afternoon or tonight sometime. So let's chat." The third sighed, knowing this was going to be a long chat, and he said, "Your father asked me to hide your parents from you until you were 16, or a Chunin. Your father was the last of his clan, and your mother has no family." Naruto said, "Wrong. I have an uncle and grandparents in Whirlpool country." "Well, my uncle's not, because I ran into him on the mission as he was tracking the IWA Nin that I killed, and he showed me a picture of my mother and him along with my grandparents after he saw the spiral design on my cloths and asked me about it. Because of some shit that happened I had to see all my memories, including my birth and mom's passing and my naming and the council meetings and all the hell. Anyways, my grandparents are the king and queen of Whirlpool, so let's continue." As he crosses his arms, the third looked at him and asked, "How do you know that he was telling the truth?" Naruto sighed and said, "You would not believe me." As he walked over to the window and looked out at his dad's face, the third said, "Try me." Naruto looked back at him and said, "I met the fox after the bridge battle in my head. He made me watch all my life and tried to make me break, and that's how I know the picture of my mother and the one in my memories were the same woman. The third nods and asked what happened after that with the fox I mean. Naruto sighed and said I told him I don't care what the fuck he said, and I told him that if I die he dies, so he is either going to pay me rent with his chakra when I need it, or I would kill myself by jumping off the Hokage mountain, or tie some boulders to my feet and jump into the ocean or something to make sure we both die. Anyways, he told me I had balls for threatening him, and he agreed and shoved me out of the seal. The third nods and said I knew your father and mother were hiding something. I never knew what, but I had thought it was you, but I guess I was wrong. Your dad must have known about her being a princess. So what do you want? Naruto said. Look, old man. With the way my team's been lately, as well as having to relive my entire life and finding out facing Kyuubi, and the problem of my first kill, I want to be alone for a while. I want to go to Whirlpool country to meet my grandparents and my uncle. Apparently I am a prince, and when he gets back to Whirlpool he is going to inform my grandparents that mom had a child. The third thought for a moment, and said when your team gets back I will send you and them. Naruto slammed his hand on the desk and said no. Not my team. I have had enough of them, and I will do more than knock them out with pressure points if I have to stay with them much longer. I can make the trip myself since I was told how to get there and also told where a messenger was for the people of Whirlpool, so I can have them come and get me, and it's only about 2 days travel from here. The third thought, and said I can't send a genin. Naruto said then I will become a missing nin old man. I am to the snapping point. Learning that not only was it my father who sealed Kyuubi in me, but also that my sensei knew who I was and still treated me like shit. I don't want to mess with it now. I just need a couple of months to get this out of my head and to finally meet my family, so please old man. The third sighed and said fine, but on certain conditions. One, you must send me a message every 2 weeks. 2, you must get some proof from the king that you are indeed his son and send it with one of the messages. 3, you must not do anything that would be considered treason to Konoha. 4, you must be back in 3 months by April 22nd because that is the day the Chunin exams start, and I suspect your team will be entering, and you must enter with them. Naruto nods and said that's fine, but can I ask for a few requests? As I am right now, I am not ready for the Chunin exams. I need a few jutsu because all Kakashi would teach was tree climbing. I taught myself water walking while balancing a rock with chakra, Mizabunshin, hidden misjutsu, and ice needles. I have been working on kenjutsu with Sabuza sword here, but I still have a long way to go even with Kage Bunshin helping, which reminds me. Why don't you use them to help with paperwork? Anyways, I got some money though. I gave about 99% of it to the people of Wave from Gado hideout, as well as some cloths since my old ones were covered in blood, and a whole bunch of weapons from the merc. I would like to sell the weapons, but I don't know who to sell them to who want cheat me, and I would also like to get some training gear as well. That reminds me, here is the head of the missing IWA nin I killed. As he handed a scroll to the Hokage. The Hokage was stunned and asked how do you know how to seal? As he set the scroll on the desk, Naruto pulled out 2 books and said this one taught me some medicine and pressure points, and this one taught me sealing. And the third looked at them and nodded, having read both books himself. The third nods and bit his thumb, and Naruto walked to the window as he heard the popping noise telling him the third unsealed the head. After a few moments he heard it being resealed, and Naruto turned back and the third said, do you know who he was? Naruto shook his head and the third said his name was Adali, White OC. He is a B-rank missing nin from IWA. Wanted for murder and rape of over 200 men and women and children before the Kage of IWA decided he needed to be killed, but he escaped before they could. He is worth $1.5 million in the bingo book. He was a master of stealth and torture. You did a good job, Naruto. Do you need to talk to anyone about it? Naruto said I already did. My uncle. I'm just lucky him and his team showed up when they did, or the merc would have killed me when I was discovered. He decided that with the guy dead he would return so he could notify the rest of my family about me. I wanted to talk to Kakashi, but when he not only forced me and Sakura to do Sasuke's share of the work of guard duty after Gato death, and then him going through my equipment pouches and took this book on medicine and tried to give it to Sasuke and Sakura while I was nearly out from chakra exhaustion, and then his refusal to even let his nin dogs help me with my stealth as well as everything else he did, I figured he would just say something, like looks like the villagers were right, and go back to reading his book. The third had a dark look on his face and said I see. Yes, it is lucky for you they showed up then. I'm sorry about Kakashi, Naruto. As for your request, take this note to the address and hand it to the man named Dustin and be honest with him about who you are because he was one of your dad's best friends, and he knows you're not the Kyuubi. Naruto took the note and asked what about the jutsu. The third looked up from his paperwork and said when do you want to leave? Naruto said the sooner the better. I would like to leave before my team makes it here because I don't want to put up with them. The third nods and said I will have everything ready in 3 hours here. Go get what you need and before I forget, channel some chakra into this paper for me. As he reached into a drawer and pulled out a small piece of paper, Naruto grabbed it, and it split down the middle and then both sides got wet, and where the split was it formed ice, and the third was wide-eyed and he said wind, water and ice. That is unique. Okay, go and get your stuff and I will get you some scrolls as well as a couple of books to help you and seal them up for you as well as give you a training schedule to help you. Naruto smiled and said thanks. As he left, and once the door was closed, the third asked, what do you think, Jiraiya? A man walked in off the balcony and said, I think he's better than he lets on. He walked to the window when I dropped my pen. And that guy he killed was also an S-rank nin, not a B-rank, the third said. I know. I did not want to make him think he was stronger than he was by taking out an S-rank nin. What about him having family? Jiraiya said it's possible. Kushina did say she did not want to talk about her past. I think she just wanted to live a normal life instead of that of a princess. The third nods and said, I want you to let him sign your contract so we can keep in touch. If he can use Kyuubi chakra then he should have no problem. Jiraiya nods and said alright, but he has to try and summon a frog before he leaves the village. Deal, the third said. Deal. Jiraiya vanished in a swirl of leaves and appeared next to Naruto, and said the third thought of something and wanted me to get you real quick. And grabbed Naruto and left in a swirl of leaves. They both appeared on the edge of town, and he dropped Naruto, causing all of Naruto's stuff to fall out of his pockets, and he saw a copy of his book, and said, you read my work. Pointing to the book, Naruto was about to say something when he heard Haku say, that's Jiraiya of the Sand Nin and Ortha of Ika Ika Paradise, and he said yes, though I only just started and had to steal that copy from Kakashi. You're Jiraiya of the Sand Nin, right? Jiraiya nods and said, would you like the rest of the collection? And Naruto winced from the fangirl squeal ya's from Haku in his head, and he shook his head yes, and Jiraiya handed him a scroll and said all 16 editions are in there. Anyways, I was your dad sensei, and since you need to keep in contact with the third, I decided to let you sign the toad contract, and will also have some jutsu with the third for you when you get to the tower, though you have to summon a toad before I will let you continue. Understood. As he pulled the scroll of his back, Naruto nods, and after Jiraiya showed him what to do after doing his whole intro, he said, now put as much chakra as you can into it, and see what you get. Naruto smirked and thought, hey uncle, let's floor this pervert. And he heard laughing inside his head as chakra flooded him, and he went through some hand seals and suddenly he was standing on top of a 100-foot tall toad. Jiraiya was wide-eyed and he heard, Jiraiya, why have you summoned me? Jiraiya said, I didn't, Minato-san did. He's the kid on your head. Gambunta looked at Naruto and said, why should I allow you to summon me and my kind? I respected your father, but you have not earned my respect. Naruto thought for a moment and smelled sake on Gambunta breath and said, I will give Ero-san and down there the money to buy you a whole barrel of sake since I am not old enough to drink or buy it yet. I know you like the stuff because I can smell it on your breath. Gambunta said, I will agree, but only when you can summon me 2 times in one day, and every year you must buy me a drink, and when you get old enough we will drink together. Deal, Naruto said. Deal? And Gambunta disappeared and Jiraiya was flabbergasted and asked, how did you know about his alcoholism? Naruto said, I smelled the sake and took a gamble. Now time to finalize the deal. And he went through the hand seals Aegean and slammed his hands, and Gambunta appeared Aegean and was standing on Jiraiya, and he looked around and saw Naruto smiling while standing on his nose, and he narrowed his eyes and said, you are going to be a headache. I can already tell. Well, you are now my subordinate, so I give you the right to summon me and my kind, but if you call me for anything unimportant other than drinking's sake, I will make your life hell. And left in a puff of smoke. Jiraiya, after picking himself up out of Gambunta footprint, chuckled and grabbed Naruto, and they both disappeared in a swirl of leaves and reappeared in front of the wolf claw weapon shop, and Jiraiya said, see you later, and was gone. Aegean. Naruto blinked and said, that was cool, but ice is better. And he looked at the paper with the address and saw he was there and walked inside. Meanwhile, Jiraiya appeared at the Hokage's office and said, well, we have our communications worked out. He just summoned Gambunta 2 times in a row. With a serious voice, ignoring the look the third gave him as he dropped his pipe. Back with Naruto. Naruto had walked through the door and an overhead bell rang, and Naruto looked through the store and noticed a girl with brown hair up in 2 buns sitting behind a counter when he heard Haku scream in his head, that's change. Bring us out quick. Naruto was about to question why when he was suddenly flung against the wall when a man with brown and gray hair held a kunai at his neck and said, who are you and how did you come by that sword? Naruto acted scared for a moment and did one hand seal, ignoring the pissed look the man and girl were giving him, and suddenly 2 puffs of smoke appeared and the man who was holding Naruto felt a kunai at his neck and a voice said, please leave my future son-in-law alone, Dustin, and it's nice to see you still keep a kunai on your hip. Naruto soon felt himself being let go and he fell to the floor and looked at the 2 stunned people and Haku and Zabuza. He stood up and asked, what the hell's going on, Zabuza? Zabuza looked around and could see people walking outside the big window and said, can you close up shop for a little while, Dustin, so we can talk in private away from the view of the regular people? The man who still had a kunai at his neck said, Tenten, take them to the living room while I lock up. And the kunai was removed from his neck. The brown hair girl said, follow me everyone. And she walked through a door and everyone followed, but Naruto was rubbing his neck until he felt Dustin put his hand on Naruto's shoulder and said, sorry about that. and helped push Naruto into the back room. A few moments later they were all sitting except Naruto, who had chose to stand after his warm welcome, and Dustin asked, "So what exactly going on here, Zabuza?" Zabuza sighed and said, "Well, we met the Gaki here and his team in Wave, and needless to say Kakashi killed Haku with something called a Chidori, and I died after my employer double-crossed me and kicked Haku body, and the kid wanted to kill him but was almost out of chakra from fighting Haku because she had her mask on, but after he broke it he saw it was Haku who was his friend. We died, but the Gaki here is giving us another chance at life because of his bloodline, and so we are going to be getting new bodies when we get to Whirlpool to see his family." In a bored tone, Tenten and Dustin was stunned and both looked at Naruto, who said, "I was told to give this to you," and handed him a piece of paper the Hokage had gave him, and Dustin read it, and his eyes got wide. Dustin said, "Take off your face masking." And Naruto reached up and pulled them down, and Dustin sighed and said, "You look just like your father. Forgive me for earlier and allow me to introduce my daughter and myself. My name is Dustin and this is my daughter Tenten. Tenten, allow me to introduce Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze, son or the Yondaime Hokage," and Haku said, "and Prince of Whirlpool Country." Getting wide-eyed looks from Dustin, and Tenten had her mouth wide open and on the floor. After a moment Tenten said, "Wait a minute, your future son-in-law. How?" As she looked at Zabuza. Zabuza sighed and said, "Haku is going to marry the kid here and I am going to be his official bodyguard, and we are both teaching him our skills including Haku bloodline which now he possesses as part of the deal we made." Dustin asked, "Is he ransoming you into this while getting a kunia ready?" Zabuza chuckled and said, "No. I decided to treat Haku as my daughter and I want to see her happy, and that's why I am doing it." While Haku was getting some herbs to help me recover, she ran into him, and they started falling for each other. Haku jumped up and ran over and grabbed a scroll off of Naruto's vest and said, "Open it." And Naruto sighed and bit his thumb and opened it, and Haku looked at the scroll numbering 1 on up, and she channeled chakra into number 1 and out popped a copy of Ika Ika Paradise Volume 1, and she giggled and sat back down ignoring the looks everyone was giving her. Tenen asked, "How did you get that, Haku?" Haku looked up and said, "My little kitsune here just signed the toad contract for Jiraiya and summoned a huge-ass toad, and he gave Naruto the complete collection as a gift." Dustin looked at Naruto and said, "You summoned Gambunta?" Zabuza said, "Twice in 5 minutes." Getting a wide-eyed look from Tenten and Dustin, Naruto asked, "How do you all know each other?" Zabuza chuckled and said, "Well, I met Dustin about 6 years ago, when he was making a tour to all the countries to get supplies for his business, and after I told him why I tried to kill the Mizukage he agreed to meet me every year somewhere, and allow me and Haku to resupply ourselves, and we became friends and write each other from time to time with pre-approved meeting spots. Haku and Tenten became pretty good friends. That mask Haku had on was made by Tenten. In fact, they practiced their first kiss with each other." Tenten and Haku both blushed while screaming Zabuza. And looking down, Naruto smiled and Tenten asked, "Why did you call him a kitsune?" Naruto stiffened at this and Dustin said, "We can't say." Naruto sighed and said, "It's okay. I am immune to that law and am the only one who can let others know, so go ahead, since I'm here, and tell it." Dustin nods and said, "Naruto saved the village here the day he was born when his father sealed Kyuubi into him when it attacked the village." Naruto, Haku, and Zabuza all three shot glances at each other which did not go unnoticed by Tenten or Dustin, and Tenten asked, "That's not the reason, is it?" Naruto sighed and said, "Not entirely. I recently found out when I found out who my mother and father were while on the mission to Wave who and what I am. Believe it or not, everything that happened at the beginning of the Kyuubi attack was not what most people think, or for the reason he came here in the first place." As he leaned against the wall, Zabuza said, "You want me to tell the rest? I know it's a little hard for you and I trust them so they will believe me." Naruto sighed and said, "Sure." As everyone looked at Zabuza, Zabuza said, "Kyuubi real name is Uzumaki Sherlock, Naruto uncle, and he originally came to Konoha to bring his sister back to Whirlpool Country because he did not believe the man she married was good enough for her. Some idiot thought if it's big it's an enemy, so they attacked him and Kyuubi defended himself, and it snowballed after that. He could have came in his normal form, but he wanted to get here quicker so he changed into his fox form. End of story. The kid here got fucked over by this village because of an idiot, and he not only lost his mother a few minutes after birth but his father who died sealing his uncle into him. Now his only family is his grandparents who are the king and queen of Whirlpool who we are going to see, and his uncle who was just able to talk to Naruto on the Wave mission when he used his chakra in a fight, and he can't even touch him because he is inside a prison cage inside Naruto. To say the two were stunned would be like saying Jia and Lee like spandex. It's an understatement." Dustin said, "So Kushina was a kitsune?" As he finally got over his thoughts, his answer was from Naruto, who said, "Yes, like me." And he changed into his three-tailed form, which was about 3.5 feet tall with blonde fur and red highlight and 3 tails behind him. Now there are some unspoken rules in the world. One is never turn into a cute cuddly animal with ears and a tail around woman. Result KKKKKKKWWWWWWWWI from both Haku and Tenden. Haku was too stunned last time to do anything about it, but now was different. Naruto soon found himself on the ground with Haku and Tenten playing with his tails, fur and ears while Zabuza and Dustin chuckled. After Naruto finally turned back and both girls got off of him, he looked at the clock and said, "Zabuza and Haku, I know you both want to stay and visit cause I get the feeling you are all close like family, so I already gave you both enough chakra to last most of the night, or until tomorrow depending on how much you use, but I have to be at the Hokage's office in an hour and a half and I still need to sell these extra weapons and get me some gear for the trip because I want to be gone before my team gets back. Dustin got up and said, "Let me see what you got, kid." Naruto pulled out 2 scrolls and rolled them both out on the floor and sent a mass amount of chakra into both and unsealed all the cloths and weapons in them. Dustin looked at them and said, "I will give you a $200,000 for the whole lot." Naruto said, "Deal? I also got money to add to it. What I need is some storage scrolls, senbons, kunia, shurikens, weights, and some more cloths similar to what I have along with some ration bars and soldier pills. Anything either of you can think of to add to that." As he looked at both Haku and Zabuza, Zabuza said, "No. That's all I can think of until we get there. What about you, Haku?" Haku thought and said, "A first aid kit." Naruto nods and Dustin said, "Tenten, can you get all that real quick while I get something?" As he got up and left the room and Tenten went toward the front of the store. A few minutes later Tenten came back with a single scroll and she said, "I got you 200 of each weapon and enough rations to feed you for a month and 2 boxes of soldier pills and 2 first aid kits as well as a box of blank scrolls. That will be $60,000. Naruto reached into his pocket and pulled out $100,000 and said, "Can you make Haku another mask since I broke her last one? I don't mean she needs it, but it was special to her, so I think I should pay to replace it." Tenten nods and Haku blushes and they start talking about her mask and go into the back. Dustin passes them and walks toward Naruto and said, "I don't doubt you, but I need to do one more test to make sure you are his son, so would you mind putting a little blood on this scroll for me?" Holding up a scroll that had the kanji for yellow on it, Naruto nods and bites his thumb, and then puts some blood on a seal and the seal breaks and Dustin smiles and said, "This is your dad's scroll that contained the Hiraishin Jutsu in it. All I know is that it involved these kuniyas, but I have no idea how they work, but they're yours. If you ever figure out how to use them, I have the master mold for them here, so I would be glad to make them for you." As he hands them to Naruto and both Naruto and Zabuza are floored, Naruto looks at it and said, "Thank you." As he puts the scroll into the other scroll he had gotten from Tenten, Naruto sighed and said, "I'm sorry, but I have to go. Take as long as you and Haku need, Zabuza, and I will see you when you dispel." And walks to the front of the store and Dustin follows and locks the door after Naruto walks out. After that he walked back to the room where Zabuza was and said, "Okay, now that he's gone I want the whole story." Zabuza chuckled and Haku came back with Tenten and said, "Well, it all started when we were hired by a man named Gato." Naruto, after leaving the shop, went to his favorite ramen stand and saw Irika there, and he took a seat next to him and said, "How's it going, Irika sensei?" Making Irika look at him and notices it's Naruto after he pulls his mask down. Irika said with a smile and said, "I have been good, Naruto. When did you get back and how was your mission and what's up with the cloths?" Naruto smiled and ordered 10 bowls of ramen and said it was different. "I met my family, learned who my parents were, had a bridge named after me, and a whole lot of other stuff. I am actually getting ready to leave the village for a couple of months to go meet my grandparents." Irika was stunned and said, "Sounds like you had a great adventure. I'm sorry to hear you're leaving so soon. If you don't mind me asking, who were your parents? I might have known them." "I am," said Naruto-kun. "I always wondered that as well." Naruto smiled and said, "Hey, raise a clue as to who my father was. Look at the mountain behind me and add whiskers to each of their faces." As he took a bite from his food. A moment later both Iam and Irika gasped and looked at Naruto and the Hokage mountain and Irika asked, "Are you serious?" Naruto smiled and said, "My real name is Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze, son of Minato Namikaze and Kushina Uzumaki, nephew of Sherlock Uzumaki and grandson to the king and queen of Whirlpool country. Take that, Konoha." With a smirk on his face starting his 4th bowl, Irika said, "I guess that explains why then, huh?" Naruto snorts and said, "Don't get me started on that. Anyways, I got to see the old man, and since I know your business is going to hurt while I'm gone, I am an old man ramen. Hey, race for mine and Irika lunch as well as a little payback for all the times you let me eat for free." As he lays $500,000 on the counter and gets up but stops and said, "Just make sure you got a warm bowl for me when I come back for the Chunin exams, and we call it even. Deal." The chef smiled and said, "Deal, and it will be on the house." Naruto smiled and said, "Maybe I can bring my fiancé as well. But I got to go cause I want to be out of here when the rest of my team gets here. See you?" And he got up and went toward the Hokage office. All of their mouths were hanging open and Irika asked, "Did he say fiancé?" And everyone nodded and looked at his retreating form. Irika for the first time saw the sword and thought something's wrong. Something happened on that mission if he wants to be gone when they get here, and what's he doing back first? A few minutes later Naruto walked into the Hokage's office and said, "Okay, old man. I got everything I need from the weapon shop, so can I go now?" The third looked up from his paperwork and said, "Yes, Naruto. Here is the scroll I got for you and there is a seal on it, so only you or me can get it. I used your chakra from your elemental test to make the seal on it, and it will only stay open for 5 minutes after you let go of it since it only knows mine and your chakra, so no one else can get the jutsu in it." Naruto smiled and took the scroll and put it in a pocket and said, "Well, old man, see you later." And he left the office and headed toward the north gate. After he was gone the third said, "Follow him, Jiraiya, and make sure he does not get into trouble with what you have learned. Don't let him know you're following him though. Jiraiya nods and jumps out the window and starts following Naruto from a distance. Naruto quickly made it out of the village, and the guards never tried to stop him or ask for his papers, hoping he was running away to be a missing nin so he would be killed, and Jiraiya narrowed his eyes and shook his head and leapt over the wall, and followed Naruto, who took to the trees and seemed to know exactly where to go. About an hour later Team 7 made it to the gates, and the guards looked at them and said, "How did you all leave the village Aegean without us knowing?" Kakashi looked at them and said, "We just got back. Whoever you let in was not us." And he took off toward the Hokage tower with Sasuke and Sakura both ready to collapse behind him. They made it about a block when a mob formed in the road and someone shouts, "There he is. He, the guy who is sleeping with the last Uchiha. Let's get him." And charges at Kakashi, who was confused. A girl screamed, "I'm coming for you, Sasuke-kun. I will show you what a woman can do for you and not this gay pervert," and tried to latch onto him. All three members of Team 7 were confused and they jumped up on the roof and tried to get away, but the roof was blocked as well. Kakashi sighed and used Shushin to make all three appear in the Hokage office. The third looked up from his paperwork and said, "Oh, Team 7. Good to see you, Aegean. So how was the mission and where's Naruto?" The third acting all innocent. Kakashi started sweating bullets and said, "Well, the mission was a success, but there were a few problems, and as for where Naruto is, I don't know." The third narrowed his eyes and asked, "What do you mean you don't know? You're his sensei." With a little anger in his voice while leaking a little killer intent. Kakashi sighed and wished he had his book, but since it disappeared he has not had a chance to get one, and said, "Well, he used a cage bunshin to distract us on our way back from the mission because he said he needed to talk to you and came back early, but he said he was at the gates when the clone dispersed." The third asked, "So you're saying you could not tell that your student was a cage bunshin, Kakashi? Do you have any idea what he wanted to talk to me about?" Sakura said the idiot said something about a first kill and some IWA. Kakashi put his hand over her mouth to shut her up, and the third blasted all three with Ki enough to freeze them to the spot. After that he asked, "What is this about an IWA nin, Kakashi? And what happened on this mission?" Kakashi groaned and asked, "Do you want me to let my team go before I tell you anything?" The third said, "No. I want them here for the whole thing since they may have seen something you haven't to help me learn where Naruto is." Kakashi began telling everything that happened on the mission, and by the end the third asked, "So Naruto just started going off on his own doing who knows what, and you never bothered to check on him because you were spending all your time helping Sasuke with his Sharingan. Tell me, Kakashi, while you were doing this was Sasuke guarding the client or did you have just Naruto and Sakura switch back and forward?" Kakashi sighed and said, "Well, a knock on the door stopped him and Ibiki walked in and said, 'Sorry for interrupting you, sir, but I confirmed the head of that nin you wanted me to check. It was Adley, White OC. He is a S-rank missing nin from IWA. Wanted for murder and rape of over 200 men and women and children." The third nods and said, "Thank you, Ibiki. I will have the money put in Naruto account when he returns in a few months." Ibiki nods and left, and everyone was stunned, and the third looked at Team 7 and said, "Thank you for confirming the report I received from Naruto. Now tell me, Kakashi, where were you when Naruto faced that man he killed?" Kakashi was stunned and Sasuke asked, "How did that dope kill an S-rank missing nin?" The third said, "Shut the hell up, boy. You get out of line one more time and I will have you handcuffed to Tora for a month." Now Kakashi answered the question. Kakashi said, "I was with Sasuke." The third asked Sakura, "Besides tree climbing, has Kakashi taught you anything, and if so, what?" Sakura thought for a moment and said, "Teamwork." The third said, "So he just lets you hit Naruto and fawns over Sasuke and teaches you and Naruto nothing." The third can see Kakashi starting to feel bad, but he's not done yet and asked Sasuke, "How much has Kakashi taught you so far and what jutsu? If I find you don't answer truthfully, I will ban anyone from teaching you anything else." Kakashi winced as Sasuke named off about 20 jutsu, and the third asked Kakashi, "When Naruto asked you for either scrolls, jutsu, help, or even help with your summons, what was your answer?" Kakashi sighed and said, "I told him I did not want to overpower the team." The third asked, "And what was it you were doing with Sasuke? And don't tell me teaching him about his bloodline, because you could have done that with one jutsu. Also, why did Sasuke get out of helping guard the client, while your other two students did the work?" From what I heard, it was Naruto who did the distraction, came up with the plan and only included Sasuke in it because his aim was better to save your life, and then you totally ignore him. Answer me as to why you did that." Kakashi said, "Well, I did not want Naruto to brag about it because I was afraid it would go to his head." The third slammed his fist against the table and said, "So then why did you not say thanks to the whole team instead of just Sasuke?" Kakashi could not answer, and the third said, "Kakashi, did you know Naruto taught himself water walking and has also gotten his chakra control down good enough on this mission to summon a boss summon 2 times? Kakashi was stunned and asked what summon. The third smirked and said Gambunta. Kakashi asked, "So Jiraiya has taken him?" The third said no. Naruto, when he returned with finding out who his family was and that he had family still alive, asked for a leave of absence. Jiraiya was here and he volunteered to let Naruto sign the Toad contract as only a messenger service so I can know where he is and get him if I need to. Other than that, I gave him 5 jutsu for each of his elemental affinities that were in the schedule for genin teams if they had those affinities that you should be teaching instead of what you are. He took the scrolls, resupplied his weapons and food, and left on his own to head to see his only family he has left. I just hope that he decided to return, because if they treat him halfway nice, he may not with the way this village and his team has treated him. Sasuke asked, why does that dope know how to summon? I'm an Uchiha and should be the one who. The third blasted him with Ki Agian enough to freeze him and said, Kakashi, if this is how your student is acting with your training, I might have to send him back to the academy for being a fuck up, because that attitude will not only get him killed but his team. As of right now, Kakashi, until Sakura is up to speed by my standards with Sasuke, and I mean teaching her everything you did with him as well as teamwork, and I mean actually teaching, and that includes the weight training as well, you are not allowed to teach Sasuke anything else. In fact. And faster than anyone could see, the third was gone from his chair and behind Sasuke and slammed both his hands on the side of Sasuke's head. Until that happens, I have sealed off his bloodline, so he has to learn not only respect for authority, but also the proper way to train, and he can't go around the village just copying jutsu. And I am the only person in this village who can undo that jutsu I used on you, Uchiha, so you can't cheat, and your pay for this mission will also be dropped to a D-rank pay for not only you but Kakashi for not doing your parts of the mission. Yes, you fought, but that is not what all of the mission is about. Your mission was a bodyguard job. Did you know that had Naruto not only done his job on the mission but also with his finding Gato hideout and killing this man, he not only saved the client's life but also his family and your female student's life? That IWA Nin had came up with a plan to attack while Sakura was guarding Tazuna family with over 20 merc, and based on the plan and your own account of the mission, I can say it would have worked perfectly, and Sakura here would have suffered the same fate along with the client's family as over 200 men, women, and children that this man has either raped and or killed. Had it not been for a hunter team that showed up when they did, Naruto would have died, but Naruto did kill the IWA Nin, and they let him take the credit for it because they had the mercs, and one of the hunters turned out to be Naruto's uncle. Kakashi, your student should not have been in those dangers in the first place. You should have known better than to make a routine so blatant that your enemies can plan for. You should have been helping your students, especially with his first kill, which you were so far absorbed into training only one student you did not even realize. You should be thankful for Naruto, but you blatant disrespect is enough. I am tempted to have you locked in jail for the next 30 days, Kakashi, with no porn. Kakashi was stunned and scared before Sakura asked Hokage-sama. When Naruto clone left, he said he found out who his parents were. Who were they? The third said, well, it's a S-rank village secret, but since I know I can't keep it quite much longer, look at the picture behind you and add whiskers to the faces on the wall, and you should be able to figure out his dad. All three turned, though Kakashi knew where to look, and after a growl and a gasp from his two students, Kakashi asked, where is Naruto? The third said, as of right now, Naruto is not on your team any longer until the exams, and I may just include him on another team and ban your team from taking them if I do not feel they are ready. And Kakashi, I know about your private teaching to Sasuke after your team meetings as well, and I am ordering them to stop. If you are not teaching both members of your team evenly, then you are not to teach them. I am also banning you from reading your books the entire time Naruto is away, and should I find that you are reading them before he returns, then I will not only ban all stores in Konoha from selling them to you, I will have Kurenai burn your collection, and I will also have you locked in jail for 30 days. Do I make myself clear? Sasuke asked, why is the dobe getting special treatment? Is it because he's the Hokage's son? That earned him a slap, but from Sakura, who was wide-eyed and unable to believe she did that much, to the surprise of everyone. Her inner voice, after finding out that Naruto saved her from rape as well as the Yandame's son, forced its way onto her, and acted to defend him. Sakura soon started to say she was sorry, but Sasuke started to do hand signs to attack her until Kakashi hit him, making him stop. The third looked at this and said, apparently Kakashi, your team is the worst of all the Genin teams. I still can't believe you would do that to Naruto, not only after knowing he is your sensei's son but also saving your life as well as that of Sasuke from that masked hunter Nin. I am getting sickened by you the more I look at you, Kakashi. Until your team is up to speed, I am banning them from taking any missions, and I will be putting a third member on your team to not only get trained but also to report to me what you are teaching and not showing favoritism, since I am finding myself questioning your judgment. Now get out of my office. Team 7 quickly left, and Sasuke tried to get his eyes to work but couldn't, and he said, Kakashi, I demand that you release my eyes. Kakashi sighed and said, I can't. I don't know what he did or how he did it. Meet at Team 7 training ground at 7 a.m. tomorrow. And left in a swirl of leaves. When he appeared in front of the memorial stone, his greeting was not what he expected, as he was slammed into a tree by Jiraiya. Jiraiya said, Kakashi, after what I saw from the Gaki and heard how you and his team treated you, I am tempted to kill you. That kid is on the breaking point thanks to you and your team's action. Both the third and I feel that had we not let him go with our guidelines, then he would be a missing Nin now or gone on a killing spree, depending on if someone pushed him over the edge before he made it out of town. I am following him in secret, but I have to say one thing. The kid training himself has paid off for him, but if he would have had help he would not have made the same mistakes he is. You better pray nothing happens to him because of this, or you will be the first one I take out. And he melted into a pile of mud. Kakashi sighed and walked over to the memorial stone, and he thought, I'm sorry, sensei. The third told his secretary to hold all meetings and decided to try Naruto idea out with the cage buncheons and found it worked great, finishing his paperwork in an hour. Kakashi, when he got home after leaving the memorial stone, he saw Iruka standing there with a pissed look on his face. An hour later Kakashi would be admitted to the hospital for a broke nose. Naruto traveled for more than 6 hours at high speed through the trees and decided to stop for the night. He set up a few traps and slept in a tree. Tenten was laying on her bed and looked at her friend Haku, who was sitting in a chair, and said, "So let me get this straight. You are marrying him, becoming a princess, and also getting a new body." Haku nods and said yes. "He's sweet, kind and caring and has been through hell in his life." Tenten sighed and said, "I still can't believe the people of this village would do all the things you and Zabuza said, but with Dad saying he's seen some of it as well, it sickens me." Haku nods and said, "That's why I feel so close to him. He's shown me love, even though we only know each other a little bit, but it has made my feelings for him grow." Tenten asked, "So are you going to share him, or are you keeping him all for yourself?" Haku thought a moment and said, "Well, I was thinking about keeping him all for myself, but I might share him if I find someone who would treat him kind and believes the way I do about protecting their precious people, but I don't know anyone that would fill into that category besides you, but you're in love with that Niji kid." Tenten groaned and said, "Don't remind me. Yesterday after our team training I asked to talk to him privately, and when we got away from our teammate he told me to hurry it up because his fate would not allow him to be late to his training. What the hell kind of guy talks about training when a girl wants to confess her feelings for him?" Haku giggled and said, "Almost as bad as that Hinata girl and her following devotion for Naruto, though she can't and won't tell him. He may act like an idiot, but he knows how she feels for him, but he does not care for her the same way, so he acts like he does not even notice to keep from hurting her." Tenten was wide-eyed and said he knows. "He's that Naruto." Haku nods and Tenten starts laughing and said, "I thought he was born in orange. I'm sorry, I guess now that I know the truth, odds are that's all anyone would sell him." After a look from Haku, she realized the truth. Haku said, "That's why I said I would only let someone else marry him if they felt for him the same way I do and believe the same way." Tenten nods and said, "If you take away everything he's been through and the way he acts because of the village, he seems to be a great guy from what you said." Haku giggles and said, "I think you like him." Tenten said, "No, I mean I don't know. I just met him, but from the way you describe him as he sounds perfect." As she lays back and looks at the ceiling, Haku blushed and said, "Yes, he is, heart, body and mind." Tenten raises an eyebrow and asked, "Body?" Haku leans over and whispers in Tenten's ear, and Tenten flies back with a nosebleed. After getting cleaned up, she asked, "How the hell did you luck onto someone who looks like that, and how do you know what he looks like?" Haku said, "While inside him we can see what he sees and hear what he hears, and I looked when he was cleaning himself in the shower." With a beet red blush that matched Tenten, a knock on the door made both look away and Tenten said, "Enter." The door opened and Zabuza and Dustin walked in, and Dustin asked, "So what have you both been talking about?" Zabuza said, "I bet it was Naruto with the blush you both got." While joking, Tenten said, "You both were listening in, weren't you?" Making both men wide-eyed. Zabuza said, "I was joking. I did not think you actually were talking about him." Tenten looked away and Zabuza sighed and said, "I just wanted to tell you before you went to bed that it was good to see you, Aegean Tenten, in case we leave before you get up." Tenten nods and said, "It was good seeing you, Aegean." "Will I see you both, Aegean?" Haku said, "We will be coming back with Naruto-kun. His uncle has a plan, but he won't say yet what it is." Tenten sighs and said, "So it will be when the exams come up, huh?" Haku nods and said, "Yeah." "It has been fun seeing you, Aegean change." Tenten said, "I hope you all have a safe trip and return quickly." And grabbed Haku and hugged her, only for Haku to go up in smoke. Tenten sighed and asked, "Can you tell her I'm sorry?" Zabuza nods and said, "Don't forget you can't tell anyone about us or about his true heritage. The Hokage thinks that Kyuubi is evil and Naruto's mother is just an ordinary princess. If people found out he was really a kitsune, all hell would break loose. Remember what I talked to you about, Dustin. I better go or Haku might jump him." And he waved bye before going up in smoke. Dustin smiles as he looked at his daughter and asked, "So what's up with you, Haku and Naruto?" "Huh." Tenten blushed and reached under her pillow and pulled out some kunia and started throwing them at her dad, who was laughing as he ran out of the room. Naruto was asleep when Haku and Zabuza returned, and they walked over to the cage and asked, "Why is he sleeping?" Kyuubi said, "I think everything is finally hitting him. He woke up here after falling asleep and then laid down and fell asleep in here. He made good travel so far, but I got bad news." Haku asked, "What's wrong?" Kyuubi said, "Naruto noticed he's being followed by that pervert. He made it look like a mistake and overshot a branch, but he actually put a cage bunch-in against the tree, and as he continued the clone saw the pervert following him and dispelled to tell him. That means until we either lose him or make it to the shore, either of you can leave. The good news is at the rate the kid is going, he should be at the shore in a day or two at most, and it will take 4 days to get to the border of Whirlpool country." Haku nods and walks over to Naruto and sits down beside him and picks his head up and sets it in her lap and starts stroking his hair. Zabuza smiled and Kyuubi asked, "So, did your friend agree?" Zabuza said, "Yeah, he agreed to it, but it will take time." "You think the kid is going to like it?" Kyuubi smiled and said, "Yes. If Haku would have been in here when you mentioned that kiss, she would have had a field day with what went through his head." Zabuza asked, "When we get our real bodies, will we be able to talk like that still?" Kyuubi sighed and said, "Yes. You, me, the kid and Haku will all be able to talk to each other through our minds by thinking which one of us we want to talk to. It's something my family came up with nearly 6,000 years ago after some people tried to kidnap the heirs of the kingdom." Zabuza nods and said, "It comes in handy. I've been meaning to ask you. Since I'm Naruto bodyguard, does Haku get one, or how does that affect her?" Kyubi said when you get your new bodies I will explain it then because if I tried to now it would be confusing and I don't want to repeat myself. Zabuza sighed and said I understand. The next day Naruto got up and after seeing that Haku was asleep as well as everyone else in his head he walked behind some bushes and made a cage bunshin and then used an ice mirror to transport himself a mile away while his cage bunshin distracted Jiraiya. He then took off toward the direction he was told to head the previous day at full speed. Jiraiya was awoken when he heard Naruto unzip his pants and stayed hidden until he came back out from the bushes and went through a slow process of making a spear and building a small fire pit, and tried for 2 hours to start a fire. When the fire finally started, Jiraiya had had enough and threw an acorn at Naruto and was stunned when Naruto went up in smoke. Realizing he was tricked, he quickly put out the fire and took off in the direction Naruto had been going the previous day. Around 7 hours later he found the first traces of Naruto in the form of a wrapper from a ration bar. Had it not been for the name on the wrapper marking it as one from Konoha, he might have missed it as only trash. Naruto, for his part, after his clone dispelled, increased his speed as much as he could, and when he felt low on chakra ate a ration bar and then later on a soldier pill. He ran for nearly 36 hours straight before he stopped, but when he stopped he was at the place Kyubi wanted him to go. When Naruto entered his mind from exhaustion, Haku started chewing his ass out for being stupid and running his body into the ground like that. I could describe it, but as anyone knows, it basically the same rant most women use when a guy does something stupid, so I will let you imagine it. Zabuza tried to say something only to be decked by Haku. Kyubi used his infinite wisdom to stay quiet. After 3 hours of Haku ranting, Naruto finally had enough and did the only thing he could think of to shut her up. He kissed her. After a few moments, and they broke apart, Naruto looked at the half-lidded eyes of Haku and said, "Will you be quiet now? You were giving me a headache." Zabuza and Kyubi both slapped their foreheads as they knew he just opened another can of trouble. Haku looked at Naruto and the temperature in the room dropped to 0 and Haku asked him, "Giving you a headache, am I? Let's see if I can make it a migraine." In a ruthlessly cold voice that sent chills down everyone's spines, Naruto acted on pure instinct and started dodging the ice icicles that had formed on the ceiling and started falling at him. After about half an hour, Haku had managed to get him into a cage made of ice like a prison cell, and she asked, "How do you feel now?" In a sweet voice, Naruto swallowed a lump in his throat and said, "Perfect, my princess. Everything you touch in my life is perfect." Haku giggled and said, "Good." And she let the cage melt and walked over and wrapped her arms around him and kissed him, and Naruto let out the tension he had when she did, thinking the worst was over. Haku broke the kiss and said, "You tell me that, Aegean, and I will make sure you never have any kids," and walked away, leaving a pale Naruto. Kyubi decided that Naruto needed to get up, so he forced his chakra into Naruto's system, forcing Naruto out of his mind. When Naruto awoke, he looked around and could just barely make out the area around him and saw the ocean in front of him, but in the ocean a few feet of shore was some kind of archway with a pole on each side and one across the top that had a circle cut out in the middle on the top that went all the way through, and an X was in the middle of the circle. The sun had yet to rise, but it would at any moment. Kyubi said, "Listen quickly. When the sun comes up, there is a stone behind you and you will see an X appear on it. When you see the X, put some blood in the center and channel chakra into the blood until you see a bridge appear on the water. When it appears, take off across the bridge and don't stop until you reach the first island. Once there, find the next arch like this one and wait until moonrise and do it, Aegean. It should take about 7 hours to get to the island, and that will give you 4 hours to rest before we can go to the next island. We have a total of 7 islands we have to cross before we can actually stop and rest for more than a few hours. Just keep repeating sunrise and moonrise at every other island. Do you understand?" Naruto thought, "Yeah, I got it. There it is." And when he was a wooden bridge pop up, he started running across it, but after running for about 20 minutes he looked behind him and saw that he only had about 50 boards each way total, as one would rise and one would set. Naruto realized if he stopped he would be in the middle of the ocean without anything to walk on but water, and that would eat his chakra faster than just running. Jiraiya had arrived when Naruto started running across the bridge, and he was about to follow when he saw the bridge starting to go into the water. He was stunned and he looked around and saw Naruto blood on the stone and watched as water ran over the stone and made the blood go away, and he saw the outline of the X go across the ground slowly toward the water and thought, so that's how it works. Ingenious. Looks like I'm stuck here until sunrise tomorrow. For the next 4 days Naruto kept this pace going of resting a few hours and then going Aegean. Had it not been for his supply of ration bars and soldier pills he would have not made such great progress. After stopping last night, Kyubi told him to rest as tomorrow would be the last challenge before they made it to Whirlpool. Naruto had slept all night and awoke about 10 a.m. and found him some fruit to eat as well as a freshwater spring on the island. Naruto then followed Kyubi's instruction and walked onto a cliff that overlooked a beach, and when Naruto looked off the cliff he gasped and thought, so that's why it's called Whirlpool Country. Naruto looked out on the ocean and he saw a coral reef around a huge island, but because of the way the reef was made it looked like a huge whirlpool. Kyubi said, "Yes, but don't let the view fool you. This is the final defense of the island before you get to it. It might not look it, but the water is running through those coral reefs with enough force to eat chakra fast. You only have about an hour to get across before you would have to eat a soldier pill or die if you had not had any. The current is so much that it will literally try and pull you around the island and not let you approach. You will have to run with the current and approach in a spiral like the design you had on your orange outfit until you actually make it to the island. If you stop moving at any time, the water will push you back out away from the island. Our ancestors made this effect so no one could disturb our homeland, and if they made it then they would have been extremely weakened, so we could either capture them or kill them depending on why they came. Naruto was stunned and asked, is there anything else I should know to help do this? Kyuubi thought and said, no, just don't stop. Even if you have to take a soldier pill, don't stop, and don't touch the coral reefs either. There are seals in them that drain chakra if you touch them. Zabuza whispered to Haku, they sure want their privacy. Haku just nods. Naruto saw something flying in the air and asked, what's that? Kyuubi looked at what Naruto was looking at and said that would be a dragon. If one comes and tries to stop you, just keep running, but don't be rude. Answer his questions but keep running. If you get pulled under the water, we all die. This is not a joke, so only go when you are ready. Naruto walked down the cliff and sat down a few moments, and made sure his soldier pills were handy and easy to get to in his shirt pocket, and tried to calm himself down, and then stood up and took off across the water. When he felt the water change, he knew he was in the whirlpool, so he started running at a slight angle with the water. He had made it around the island 2 times so far and was about halfway there when a shadow flew overhead and a dragon came flying beside him, and it asked, who are you and why have you come? Naruto kept running and said, my name is Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze and my uncle Sherlock told me to come here to meet my grandparents. As he kept running around the island, the dragon flew beside Naruto and sniffed the air around him and said, Sherlock disappeared nearly 14 years ago. How do you know him? Naruto kept running and said, he is sealed in me by my father who summoned the Shinigami to do the sealing. The dragon narrowed its eyes and said, if your father was not Sherlock, then who are your parents? Naruto was getting tired and reached for a soldier pill and ate it, and said, Minato Namikaze and Kushina Uzumaki. The dragon's eyes got wide for a moment, and Naruto was feeling sick from all the energy he had been burning lately, and using soldier pills like he had, and started to lose his balance on the water when an idea popped in his head and started doing hand signs and changed into his kitsune form, and the dragon saw this and sniffed once more and said, when you make it to shore, do not leave the beach, or you will be killed. Someone will escort you to see the king. And it flew away, leaving Naruto running on all fours even faster and making great strides to get to the island. About 35 minutes later, Naruto finally made it to the shore and collapsed from chakra exhaustion after that, still in his fox form. When Naruto awoke, he was in a dark room and could not see anything in the room but knew he was on a bed by how soft the object he was on felt. Naruto rested a moment and said, hello, anyone there? No answer came, and Naruto sighed, but then he heard a noise of a latch and a door opened with blinding light illuminating the room he was in, and Naruto had to adjust his eyes and saw he was still in his fox form and changed back, and a person walked through, about 40 years old with an eye patch on his left eye, and he said, welcome sir. Please follow me. And turned and started to walk away. Naruto got up and was stiff and tired but followed the man. They walked down a long corridor and then turned left and walked for about 5 minutes when they came to a set of large double doors. Naruto was awed by the design, as on one side was a dragon and on the other a kitsune, and the man said, wait here. And he left Naruto walking back the way he came. Naruto thought, hey, what now? Kyuubi was quiet a moment and said, listen carefully, Naruto. When they ask you who, you repeat what I say right now. My name is Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze and I invoke the right of ritual tribunal. After you say that, do not say anything else or do anything unless I tell you. Don't look around the room or anything. You must act like you are king and don't bow to anyone. If you show any sign of weakness here and now, you will be dead before you know it. Here they come. Naruto heard a noise and both doors opened up with a man opening each door, and a third man was in the center, and he said, follow me. And Naruto followed him and lead him through the middle of the room on a red carpet and up to a set of stairs that had a set of chairs on it, and an old man who had red and white hair with red eyes looked down at Naruto with a cold look on his face. Beside him was a woman with black hair and green eyes looking at Naruto with much the same eyes but also a hint of something else, but Naruto was unsure as to what. The man on the throne said, who are you? Naruto said, my name is Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze and I invoke the right of ritual tribunal. Gasps were heard around the room, though Naruto did not know where they came from, as he looked straight ahead, and the man on the throne narrowed his eyes and said, what gives you a right to ask this? Naruto remained silent. The woman beside him said, please answer, my husband. In a kinder voice. Naruto stayed silent. The man who brought Naruto up to the stairs got in Naruto's face and said, answer his majesty when he speaks to you. Naruto looked at the king and said nothing, though his eyes were changing from blue to red. Kyuubi smirked and said, repeat what I say word for word. Naruto said, listen up, you little insect. I don't care if you are the third strongest of the royal guard. Kushina still kicked your ass when she caught you peeking on her at the hot springs, and my uncle who is inside me now said when he gets out of here he is going to give you another bite on your other ass cheek, but this time he will use his permanent fangs. Go play with your tail one wing before I lose my temper and break your other wing. As he looked at the man who was in his face like he was beneath him, the man on the throne said, the ritual of tribunal shall commence immediately. Please escort Naruto to the chair. Naruto followed the man who was looking at Naruto like he was judging him as he led him out on a balcony that had a single chair with arm restraints on it, and after Kyuubi told him to sit down and stay calm, he was tied to the chair. About 20 minutes later, Naruto was asleep in a chair on a balcony, but below him there were nearly 2,000 people all standing looking up. The king walked out and said, "The boy here claims to be my grandson. He has invoked the rites of ritual tribulation. Let's watch and see if he speaks the truth and decide what to do." And the people cheered. Suddenly the sky above the island changed and turned dark, and then the sky took on the same view as Zabuza and Haku saw when they first met Kyubi. The people watched as Naruto was named, and the king and queen gasped when they saw their daughter and her passing away and proving that the boy was indeed their grandson. Then the people watched the ceiling and then were outright pissed with Naruto life. Now let's have a little history lesson for those of you who don't know this. The people of Whirlpool are either kitsune or dragon for the most part, with maybe only 2% of the island as regular human who have earned the right to live here, either them or their ancestors. They respect each other dearly to the point the kitsune are the king and queen of the island, while the dragons are their loyal guards and trusted allies. After nearly 14 years of believing the royal family, who has ruled in peace for over 20,000 years with its subject, was going to end with both heirs to the throne believed dead, and suddenly a child prince shows up one day, and then the people see their prince being treated like an animal that should be killed, would be like saying the sun is ice cold. The people of Whirlpool were at the point of wanting to kill anything in Konoha. They continued to watch and soon saw the people who were Naruto precious people, and they watched him discovering why he was hated, and many vowed to kill Mizuki very slowly. They watched everything including the wave mission, and many people cheered when they saw Naruto meet his uncle and learned his birthright. They had also heard of Haku life and saw the way the prince liked her, making most like her as well, and they saw Zabuza being named his bodyguard, and while some may have felt like protesting, they felt that he had the right, but he would be trained to be better. Then they watched Naruto play the Hokage, and many of the kitsune snickered at the prank he pulled on Team 7 and skillfully lied about why he wanted to come here. They watched as Naruto met Tenten and Dustin, and then Naruto revealing his true origins, and then the trip here and Zabuza telling Naruto he had Dustin and Tenten not to reveal anything, then up until Naruto sat in the chair. When it was over, the king was quiet for a moment, trying to restrain his emotions, and finally asked, "What is the verdict?" A man with green hair said, "I, the leader of the first Dragon Knights, swear my protection of Prince Naruto." A woman with red hair said, "I, the leader of the second Dragon Knights, swear my protection." This continued as 12 different people swore to protect Naruto. When that was over, a woman stepped forward and said, "I, leader of the North Kitsunes, swear to follow the rule of Naruto and accept him as my prince." A man stepped forward and said, "I, leader of the West, also accept Naruto as my prince." A kid about 15 said, "Long live Prince Naruto," says the East, making several laugh at his joking attitude. An old woman with white hair said, "I, leader of the South and oldest of the Kitsunes, swear on my life to not only accept Naruto as my prince but also swear to make his life as happy as I can until the end of my days." And the crowd erupted in cheers. The queen stepped forward and said, "On behalf of the royal family, I thank you all for your support in this matter, and I hope that my grandson will bless each of you the way you have blessed not only him today but also us. I call the ritual over and request the Kitsune maidens and the dragon taskmasters to come so we may welcome our 2 other guests." The people cheered at this and soon began to break up and go back to their business. A man steps beside an alleyway across from the castle and asked, "Did you see enough Jiraiya of the Sanins?" Jiraiya dropped his cloak of invisibility and said, "Yes." "If you knew I was here, why did you allow me to stay, and who are you?" The man looked at him and said, "I am Aragon, captain of the 12 Dragon Knights and the king's official bodyguard. Everyone here knew you were here the moment you stepped foot on the island yesterday. We waited until we knew who and what you were here for before we decided to do anything about it. Based on what we saw, I say the Hokage asked you to follow him and make sure he was fine." Jiraiya sighed and said, "Yes. A group of men are going to come after him soon, so we were worried that this might have been a trap for him. I'm glad it wasn't." Aragon asked, "Can you give me any info on who these men are, and why they are coming after him, and also would you accompany me to see His Highness? He will want to speak to you." Jiraiya nods, and after being led to the king and queen and properly introduced, he told them about Atatsuki and everything else he knew concerning Naruto. The king listened quietly and said, "We can protect him here, but he has a wish to return to Konoha, and that worries me. However, I must ask, if you knew who this boy was, why did you not take him away from that village?" Jiraiya sighed and said, "I wanted to, but we believe that if people saw me with a child, then they would have been able to tell he was his dad's child, and then he would have had IWA as well as a few other countries trying to kill him. It was decided the Hokage would keep an eye on him, where even with the village hating him he would have some protection, though I see it was not nearly enough. I had no idea his life was like that. I knew it was bad, but that was worse than I could ever imagine." The queen looked down and said, "Our people are not happy about this. Should anything else happens, I fear they will destroy your village without caring, and neither I nor my husband would be able to do anything about it. I can only pray that nothing pushes them more." Jiraiya asked, "What will happen?" "No." The king said, "I am going to allow you to return to your lands, but you are not to tell anyone about what you saw or heard here today. You will tell the Hokage that Naruto is with his family, and he will return for the exams like he promised, but he will be as a ko-ninja of not only the Hidden Leaf but also Whirlpool, and he will be with a new team. I refuse to let him be under the care of someone like that Kakashi. Even if he did have another sensei, in a sense his official one was nothing but a failure." Jiraiya could only agree and said, "Is there anything else I should know? I mean, hearing that Kushina was a kitsune, and so is her son, is something new." The king said, "No. That is all for now. Jiraiya thought for a moment, and said I believe I should be heading back. I don't want Naruto to think I came here to ruin his life here. After hearing everything Jiraiya had said and the king giving a scroll to give to the Hokage of Konoha, he had Eragon take Jiraiya back to the island before the whirlpool. Naruto awoke to a feeling of a weight on his chest, and he slowly opened his eyes and blinked before looking down and noticing a mass of black hair on his chest, and he blinked and moved the hair away and saw the face of Haku asleep on him. It took a few moments, but then he realized that he was not in the seal, so Haku was out, and he tried to remember what happened. The last thing that happened was him sitting in a chair and then waking up here. He heard a groan and saw Haku open her eyes, and she blinked a few moments and turned her head trying to figure out her surroundings, and when she saw she was laying on Naruto, she bolted up off of him and looked around, and then she realized she was not in the seal, and she pinched herself and felt pain, and she said, "I'm alive." In disbelief, Naruto sat up and asked, "Are you in a clone body?" A female voice from behind Naruto said no. She is in her new body Naruto-sama. Making both teens turn and see a woman with blue hair in her late 30s looking at them with green eyes. Haku asked, "How did this happen and who are you?" The woman said, "Forgive my manners, Lady Haku. I am Ellen, kitsune priestess of the royal order." As she bowed, Naruto blinked and asked, "How do you know her name?" The woman smiled and said, "Well, your highness, the people of Whirlpool saw your life when you invoked the rites of the ritual. You invoked your claim of royalty, and as such the people have to know you and respect you to follow your rules, so we all know everything that happened before you sat in the ritual chair. It was because of this that we know of your relationship with Lady Haku here as your future mate. Now I am sorry for not being able to tell you anything further, but Her Majesty had asked me to wait until you both awoke and then bring Lady Haku before her to inform her of her duty as future queen of this country along with her training. Someone will be with you shortly, sir." As she bowed Aegean, Haku asked, "What about Zabuza?" The woman who was still bowed said he has already been given his new body and should be learning his official duties as bodyguard soon. "I am sorry, Aegean, for being so rushed, but a lot has been planned to get you both ready for what is to come, so I must ask that you come with me, Lady Haku, and you both should know that most likely you won't see each other, Aegean, for at least a month, but you will be able to talk to each other in your heads, but that will be after you are showed how. We must take our leave now, Naruto-sama." Naruto turned to Haku and walked over and gave her a hug and said, "Welcome back," and kissed her, which she returned the kiss. After they broke apart, Haku followed the woman away and Naruto was left sitting on the bed. Naruto thought, "Hey uncle. What now?" Naruto got no answer, and he saw the man who he had threatened appear at the door, and he said, "It's good to see you, Aegean Naruto-sama, and I must apologize for my disrespect of you earlier, but we had to make sure you were who you claimed to be. Now if you will follow me, the king would like to see you." As he turned to walk down another walkway, Naruto got up and followed him and said, "Look, in case I made you mad earlier, I just was repeating what my uncle told me to say." The man beside him started to chuckle and said, "It's quite alright, Naruto-sama. I took no offense to it. Truth of the matter is that I was your uncle's bodyguard before he was sealed in you, so if you had acted any other way then I would not have believed you when you said he was in you. By the way, my name is Edgar." Naruto smiled and asked, "How come I can't talk to my uncle right now?" Edgar said, "It's because he's tired from the process we used to bring your two friends back to life. He probably will be out for about a month or more." Naruto frowned and asked, "So he can't get out, huh?" Edgar sighed and said sadly, "No. We know a great many things, but your father was a genius to summon the only thing that can seal something we can't undo. If we tried to bring him out of you, he would die along with you. The idiot now has to pay the price for his actions." Naruto smirked and said, "Thank God. I was afraid with the way you and that lady were talking everyone was going to walk around me with eggshells on their feet. For you to call my uncle an idiot, show me you won't." Edgar smiled and said, "We act formally when serious, but when it's not required we try and act with the way we wish to be treated. It is our way of being regal as well as human. It is a flaw that most humans forget." Naruto asked, "You're a dragon, aren't you?" As they walked, Edgar said, "Yes. I am one of the Dragon Knights." Naruto looked at him and asked, "What exactly are Dragon Knights?" "I am a little lacking in the way things are here." Edgar smiled and said, "Your grandfather will explain everything. We're here anyways. Just go in this door here, and I would like to say it's nice to meet you, Naruto-sama, and welcome to Whirlpool." Naruto smiled and said, "Thank you for welcoming, Edgar, but if you don't mind, just call me Naruto. I don't believe I'm better than anyone else." Edgar shook his head and said, "That's why you would make a great king when you're older." And he was gone in a puff of smoke. Naruto took a deep breath, trying to calm his nerves, and knocked on the door. The door opened and he saw the man who was sitting on the throne earlier standing there looking at Naruto with a smile on his face and said, "Welcome, Naruto. Please come in." Naruto came in and saw it was a library, and the man took a seat and said, "Allow me to introduce myself. My name is Rune Uzumaki. I am the king of Whirlpool Country and your grandfather." Naruto smiled and said, "You have no idea what it's like for me to finally, after all these years, to finally get to meet my family after believing I was an orphan nearly my entire life. Would it be alright if I hugged you?" Naruto's answer was being pulled into a hug by Rune, who had moved faster than Naruto could see. Naruto, after tensing at first, relaxed and held on to his grandfather, and then started to cry. Rune frowned at this but held on to Naruto. He frowned because he knew how this simple act was so impressionable on Naruto thanks to the hatred Konoha had given him. His hatred for that village only grew more, but he would not destroy it because he knew that his grandson's precious people would be hurt, and he vowed not to let anything hurt him anymore. After Naruto finally stopped crying, Rune stepped back and said, "I'm glad to see that you still have a heart in you after what you have been through. Your kitsune blood must flow strongly to still care for people." Naruto smiled and asked, "I'm confused on a lot of things. This being kitsune is still new to me, as well as having grandparents and an uncle." Rune said, "That's why I have had you brought here. This is the Royal Library of Whirlpool. In these books is the entire history of Whirlpool and how us and the dragons came to be. This is your history. I know you have a lot of questions and many more than you know to ask, so for the next week you will be in this library reading all these books. I know you are wanting to spend time with me and also your grandmother, but we still have other things we have to take care of. I want you to use your cage bunchins to help you read these books, and don't just read them. Memorize them, as they will help you as not only a kitsune or a prince but also a ninja and also a king. I have already sent word to the Hokage of Konoha and have notified him that because of you being a child of not only a Konoha citizen but one of Whirlpool, you are now referred to as a dual citizen and also a dual ninja. Your training will start in 2 weeks. This first week you are going to learn from these books, and then after that you will get a chance to be with your grandmother and I, as we are taking next week off to be with you and your friends. I don't want you to leave this room though. There is a restroom behind the door to the right with you some cloths, as well as a shower in there, and a bedroom to the door on the left. Food will be brought to you for your meals so you can finish at your own pace. Any questions you have left after this week we can answer afterwards. Do you understand?" Naruto thought a moment and said, "Yes, how should I refer to you?" Rune smiled and said, "If we are not in the throne room you may call me grandfather or Rune, however you are more comfortable, unless it is something that is a public affair, and then you either call me Renesima or Lord or some title like that. There are not many affairs like that unless it's a wedding or we have a formal guest, which we don't have many. I'm sorry I can't stay and talk more, Naruto, but if I want to spend next week with you then I have to get my duties done." Naruto smiled and said, "I understand, Gramps." Rune chuckled and said, "You're just like your mother, disrespectful to adults. I'm glad to see you inherited that trait from her. Breakfast will be brought in about an hour, so begin when ready." And he hugged Naruto one more time before leaving. Naruto watched him leave and smiled a true smile and thought, "I will make you proud," and created over 200 cage bunchins that each grabbed a book and started to read. Haku followed Ellen through the castle until she was brought into a garden, and she saw the woman who she thought was the queen sitting under a sakura tree reading a book, and Ellen bowed and said, "Her Majesty is waiting there for you. I will take my leave now," and left. Haku walked toward the woman, who looked up from her book and smiled and said, "Welcome, Haku. I am Queen Rina, Naruto grandmother. It's a pleasure to meet you face to face." Haku bowed and said, "It's a pleasure to meet you, Your Majesty." Rina smiled and motioned for Haku to sit, and when she did she said, "It would appear you were trained in proper etiquette. That's good. I know that you must have a lot of questions and I will try to answer them all, but before we begin I would like to tell you a story. I'm sure that it will answer many of your questions." "Deal." Haku nodded, and Rina said, "A long time ago there was a great war and humanity was on the brink of destruction. During that time there were many demons, angels and divine beings throughout the world that had been brought here to end the war, because it was not just a war for lives but the very souls of people. The Lord of all creation finally had enough and created 2 other worlds. One for demon, one for angels, and then all that was left here on this world was the divine beings and the humans. Humans, after seeing the destruction of the world that had started to recover from the demons, angels and humans fighting, vowed never to be so weak again, so they started seeking power. At first they thought that if they had allies with the only power left by the Lord of creation then they would be protected, so they sought out all the divine beings and asked them for blessing or protections. Many did so, and that is how bloodlines were first created. After some time people became arrogant with the gifts that had been bestowed on them, and they decided they wanted more. The divine beings, seeing the dark intentions of humans, decided not to give them more, so man started searching for any way to get what they wanted. They tried to capture the divine beings, and they started wars among themselves over who would get the prizes. Soon man started to forget all about the beings because they had went into hiding, but over the years man would discover one or more of the divine beings, and see the power they had, and came up with ways to make it tier. It was during this time that humans discovered the first secrets of chakra. Once that happened the world was forever changes, as man became completely arrogant in their new knowledge. As the world continued on and man's quest for power continued, they decided that if they could not capture the divine being and get what they want, no one would, so they began hunting them until only a handful remained. It was during this time that the divine beings had a conflict amongst themselves as to what to do. Some wished to punish humans while others wanted to live in peace. The ones who wanted to punish humans soon went and used their knowledge they had turned themselves into creatures of mass destructions. As you know the tale of the Kyuubi that was told because of its relationship with Naruto, there are 8 other creatures human called demons. Those creatures are the ones that wanted to destroy humans. The kitsunes and the dragons had wanted to live in peace, so after the near destruction of man, Aegean, the kitsune and dragons made an agreement with the ones that wanted to end human life. We agreed that we would watch humans from afar, and when a civilization became too bent on its quest for power we would go and destroy them to the basics. Aegean, Even though we did not like the fact that we had to kill to do it, we felt that if we did not set them back every few centuries that they would not only destroy themselves but us as well. In doing this, the others agreed with us, and over the last few thousand years that has been the way of things. We feared that if we did not stop the other divine beings, then they would destroy humans and themselves, so to balance it out, this was our only choice so all may continue to live. The dragons and the kitsunes, believing that if we stayed away from humans for the most part we could live in peace, came here to these islands and set them up so that we could live life as such. The dragons chose to be the guards of the kitsunes because they were the stronger of the two, while the kitsunes were the wiser of the two, agreed to be the leaders, but we have always treated each other as equals. Our young have stood side by side, and when my grandson asked for the ritual a few days ago, the people of this land saw his life, and we voted as one people and accepted him as the prince by not only birthright but by choice. The kitsune have always protected the dragons, and the dragons have always protected the kitsune. That is what the symbol on our outfits mean. It's a balance of wisdom and strength. Neither getting an upper hand and neither being stronger or inferior than the other. Showing a symbol on her shirt of a kitsune and a dragon in a circle chasing each other. Haku sat quietly, and after Rina finished, Haku asked, "So what is it that I need to know now?" Rina said, "You have been accepted as the fiancé of Naruto, and as you know, this body you have is not your own, but now it is. This body looks just like your other one, but now instead of human blood flowing through you, you have the blood of the kitsunes flowing through you. The history I just told you is the history of our people. I felt that you would need to know about it since one day you will be queen of this kingdom." Haku listened and asked, "I don't mean to sound disrespectful or anything, but I have a question that has been in my mind ever since I first heard about this. Naruto is your grandson and the only heir you have from what I understand, since either his uncle or mother are around to rule. What I was curious about was what would have happened if Naruto would not have come here. Is there another Uzumaki, or is there more kitsunes, or I'm not really sure how to ask what I'm thinking." Rina smiled and said, "I understand. The truth is that even with Naruto being born in Uzumaki, he still might not have been prince. You see, we don't just give the crown to those who are born of the family. The people as a whole, not just the dragons or the kitsune, but both have to agree on the choice for heir to the throne. The Uzumaki clan has ruled over this land since we first settled together, but had it died out, we have a test that was agreed when we first settled here. The test is one of wisdom, strength, courage, honor, and loyalty. The entire people would watch all who entered the contest, and then vote who they would follow. The test was the one Naruto demanded when he got here. You can't cheat or be bribed into doing it because your entire life is displayed for all the people, so if you are doing it for unworthy reasons, the people would know. We just have always had the Uzumaki family do the trials first. In fact, that was why when Naruto demanded it, he first had to pass the test to be allowed. One was to see if he was quick to anger, and that was why the guard got in his face. One was to see if he would bow to someone who is stronger, which he did not, and one was his determination. When he warned the guard, he passed that test." Haku smiled and said, "I understand. So what happens now?" Rina said, "Well, I want you to go and test your new body here in this garden with me here, and if you have any questions like how to transform into a kitsune, or if something is not right that you think is wrong, let me know, because the next week your body will be setting itself to your soul, so and after that the only way to leave it is to die, but you would go back into the seal on Naruto, and then have to get a new body to readjust Aegean. This would keep going on until he dies. It's the same way for me and every other wife or wives of a kitsune for nearly 10,000 years. When this week is over, you will meet your new bodyguard and then begin your kitsune training along with Naruto." Haku asked, "What do you mean by that?" "The guard I mean," Rina explained. "Well, remember when I told you our children stood side by side with those of the dragons? You being a kitsune now will have one bodyguard who will stand by you and protect you if you need it. She will be the same age as you. Naruto will have one as well, but as you know, that person is Zabuza, who is now a dragon. We do this to show everyone that we are equal to our friends the dragons. This way neither has any secrets from the other, and this sign of trust only makes the unique bond we have that much greater." Haku asked, "How am I a kitsune, and how is Zabuza a dragon?" Rina said, "Good question. Remember how I said we are divine beings? We don't have mystical powers that can just make things happen. Remember when I told you about how we blessed humans with bloodlines? The truth of that is we as divine beings can bless the souls of people, so what we do is go and bless the soul, and then through ritual sealing we create a body that just covers the soul like skin over your organs. Think of it like cake frosting. We take the ingredients that are the flour that is a normal human and the extra that we want based on what kind of cake to make, and we add things in it to make it unique like bloodlines, but now in your case it's making you a kitsune, and then we cover the cake with the frosting, which is your new body. Since your body and soul have the changes in it, you think about your children, you pass it on to like slices of a cake. Even though the slice is not the original cake, it still has the stuff in it that had made the cake unique." Haku nods and gets up and starts trying basic moves, trying to test her body out, and later moved on to her bloodline, and so on and so forth. She was surprised by the way Rina had explained it, and the more she thought of it the more it made sense. Zabuza for his part was having a hell of a time. After he woke up and led to a meeting with Aragon, who explained everything, he was told that he needed to try out his new body, and what better way than a fight. Zabuza was liking being a dragon more and more every moment, and the dragons were quickly giving Zabuza respect as he was progressing in the fight quite well. Currently he was about mid-rank of a dragon thanks to all his battle instincts and experience, but he was learning quickly. The only thing he was not happy about was the 5 dragons sitting on the wall breathing fire, water, lightning, mud, and wind at him while he fought hand-to-hand agents to 20 other guards. Zabuza thought, this is just like the test I took to be a member of the 7 swordsmen. I love this. As he made a mist cover the battlefield, the dragons all stopped and Zabuza chuckled and said, now it's my turn to have some fun. 8 points, heart, liver. Aragon chuckled and thought as he watched the testing, this guy is going to make a great dragon, what the hell. As a water dragon came flying out of the mist and nailed the fire breather, knocking him out. Naruto had, after eating breakfast, discovered a quick way to learn the books and memorize it faster. He had created 400 clones. He had decided to start with the oldest first and work his way forward, reading every book or scroll in one bookcase at a time. Seeing as there was 10 bookcases, he figured he could read 1.5 bookcases a day until he finished the last one. Each shelf had around 200 books and 100 scrolls, and with the extra 100 taking over when one would get frustrated and dispel, giving the other clones the knowledge that he just absorbed, and not only made going through the books and scrolls faster but also kept him from having information overload. At each meal he would dispel the clones in groups of 20 till they finished, and then do 400 clones Aegean until the next break. He found the history of battles and the creation of the first bloodlines interesting. He looked back at the only real battles he had actually fought, and after reading some of the battles in history, and he could see how his fight with Mizuki as well as Agents Zabuza and the Demon Brothers and Gato Men and the IWA Nin could have went very different. It was this simple realization that made him realize he wasn't good like he thought he was, but lucky. That fact scared him deeply as he read about the battles of World War I, World War II, and then the final battles before the Great Intervention, as it was called, when the demons and angels were taken to another place. Naruto sighed as he sat there thinking, and his grandfather walked in and saw the look on his face and asked, "What's wrong?" Naruto looked down and said, "My life is nothing but luck. Every fight that I have been in since I was a ninja has been won by nothing but pure luck. The actions I took in each of those fights could have gotten me killed." Rune smiled and said, "That's one of the reasons I wanted you to read these things. I noticed it when I watched you memories. You had some good ideas, but the way you did them was what hurt. I wanted you to realize that so when we begin your training you will be ready. Especially after what I learned." Naruto was curious and asked what. Rune said, "I was informed by an interested party who I promised not to say until he thinks you're ready that some men are going to be coming after you soon. One of them is the man who killed the Uchiha clan except for his brother. They want you to take your uncle out of you and kill you. I don't want to see this happen after first meeting you, so your training is going to help you get strong fast, but it's not just physical strength. What good is being strong if you're not smart enough to use it wisely?" Naruto sat quietly and said, "I understand." Rune said, "Good. I wanted to tell you that your friend Zabuza is turning out to be even better than we thought. My friend Aragon has told me that he is very good and that he wants permission to give him the advanced training when he's ready. I told him I had to ask you, so I am asking you since you know them better than we do. In your judgment, do you trust Zabuza and Haku enough that you would fight and die for them? Do you think they would do the same for you, and do you believe that they are worthy of learning all of our secrets?" Naruto said yes. Zabuza is a little rough, but inside of him is a good heart. Haku is like her namesake, pure as snow. I admit she has killed, but so have I, but what I mean is that she protects what is precious to her, and I am the same. Even though I just got here, I feel that this place is precious to me and I would die to protect it because I feel at home here." Rune smiled and said, "I understand. This is and will always be your home, but you also have people in Konoha you feel the same way for. For now you are a ninja of both villages. Someday you will be leader of this one. Your duty is to Konoha for now. However, I have issued a warning to Konoha and I am telling you this. If they hurt you Aegean like they have, the people of Whirlpool will retaliate. You are the prince of Whirlpool. Not by blood and not by namesake. You have been chosen as the next king. You said you would fight to protect us and we would fight to protect you. Do you understand what that means?" Naruto thought for a moment and said, "It's like the will of fire the old man told me about." "Yes, I understand," Rune said. "Good. Now let me get back to your studies. I will be sending a message in a few days to Konoha. Do you have anything you would like to be said or sent?" Naruto thought and said, "Well, I would like for the Hokage to let I am and her dad at the ramen stand along with Irika know that I am okay, and ask Irika to watch Konohamaru for me. Him and his 2 friends see me as a leader. Zabuza and Haku have friends there who I think would maybe like to hear we made it safe or something, so you might ask them. Tell them if they do send something that I said hi, and thanks for the supplies and everything, and I hope they are both doing okay." Rune nodded and said, "I will, and good luck with the rest of your reading." And he left the room, and Naruto got back to what he was reading but stopped and thought about what his grandfather said about some men after him for his uncle. One of them was an Uchiha. Having read about the creation of bloodlines, he looked at his clones and said, "Okay, listen up. While you're reading, if you find anything about weaknesses and strengths of specific bloodlines, especially the Sharingan, read it carefully, And then also bring it to me to read because we have to get ready. The clones screamed yes and returned to reading with renewed interest. Naruto went back to reading his book on battle and frowned as he realized how much his life was changing now. It had been nearly 3 weeks since Naruto had left, and the members of Team 7 were not happy. The next day after they got back, Kakashi actually showed up on time with a new member. A social nightmare named Sai who was their age, but with the way he acted and the names he called everyone they all wanted to kill him. He seemed to be good as Sasuke but would not show any other skills he had other than what was demanded at the moment. Kakashi for his part was suspicious of him, but with the bags under his eyes from not only the emotional battle he had been in since his talk the day they got back along with the traps, pranks, and hate he was getting from the other senseis as well as the nightmares he's been having of Naruto dying on the wave mission because of his failure and the fact he could not relax with his porn. The Hokage had informed Kurenai about Kakashi punishment, had posted a reward when she found out what she could do if he was caught with the book, had made his life hell. The Konohamaru Corp, after not only hearing about what happened to his boss on the mission from his grandfather, uncle, Naruto teammates, and Irika along with his training trip and that he was the son of the Yondaime, now looked at Naruto with even more praise and had taken to pranking. Who, you might ask, he was pranking? Well, after getting subtle hints from Irika, who had made a class project for extra credit to set traps for Kakashi, as well as hearing his uncle and his girlfriend Kurenai talking about it, and her little reward, he had gotten his grandfather's collection and was now setting traps at each of Kakashi's favorite hideouts. The problem is that the pranks included anything from stink bombs to exploding tags and the books along with cameras. Yeep, Kakashi's life was officially hell so far now. Sasuke was pissed after he could not find anyone to release his eyes. Not only was he pissed about that, he was pissed because he was having to watch Sakura try for hours to learn the same jutsu he copied with his bloodline, but with her smaller chakra pool it was taking her longer, and when the Hokage said he wanted her up to speed on the weight training, she now had 1/8 of her body weight just like Sasuke had on, and now he watched as she ran around Konoha. She was always slower, and had less endurance than either him or Naruto, so now Kakashi had Sasuke and Sai run around Konoha 5 times and timed them, and when they stopped he took the total time both took and was making Sakura practice every day until she was able to make it around the village in the same amount of time, which was 1 hour and 10 minutes. So far she could only make it around the village 2 times in that time, so Sasuke was mad because Kakashi would not teach him anything else until she got up to speed, so now here he was sitting watching her run around the village, and Sai running with her. Kakashi looked at Sasuke and shook his head and thought he could at least work with his teammates to help them get better faster while helping his own skills. I think I see now why Naruto was so pissed. I have to try and apologize to him when he returns. Sakura for her part was starting to have mixed feeling for Sasuke. It was not bad enough that he insulted Naruto, and saying Naruto is not worthy of what he has when they learned so much about him. Then there's the fact that he told her that if she did not get done soon he would kill her. Kakashi had told Sasuke that if he heard him threaten a teammate Aegean like that he would make sure his bloodline was sealed off permanent. After that he would just do what Kakashi said and then sit down and brood. Every time someone would mention Naruto a cold feeling would come from him, and the bad thing is that the new guy Sai was always asking things about Naruto. After he heard Naruto was the son of the Yondaime, he was asking everything he could think of about Naruto, from what his training was like to what kind of underwear he wore. To make things worse, people around town had been asking her and all the other rookie genins all kinds of questions about Naruto as well. A little over a week after Naruto left, a message arrived for the Hokage from the land of Whirlpool. Sakura did not know at first exactly what happened, but apparently whatever was in that message sent a ripple across Konoha. The Hokage had a meeting with the council, and after the meeting was over each of the major clans had sent a message to the Konoha Flame, the newspaper here in Konoha, and each had a 1-page ad that stated Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze was officially under the protection of the Hyuga, Yamato, Aburame, Inuzuku, Nara, Akamichi, Sarutobi clan, and anyone that did anything against him would be considered an attack agent, a member of those clans. All of the heirs were curious about why, so they went to Sakura. The strange things is most of the conversation was a haze even now. Flashback. Sakura was currently sitting at the Akamichi barbecue restaurant, having been dragged there by her one-time friend Ino. When she got there she saw the teammate was there along with Team 10 sitting at a table, and Ino made her sit down and said, "Okay, forehead, talk. What happened to make all of our parents declare Naruto off limits, so to speak?" Sakura sighed and said, "I don't know. I have not seen him since what happened when we had our C-rank mission turned S-rank." Everyone perked up and Kiba asked what happened. Sakura sighed and said, "Well, our client lied about what our mission was. We were hired to guard a bridge builder named Tizuna. He said the mission was to protect him from bandits. The truth was a businessman named Gato was wanting to kill him because Gato wanted to enslave the people of Wave." A voice said, "What do you mean, Sakura?" Making everyone turn and see Kurenai and Asuma walk in with a man with green spandex and 3 other genins with him, and they all sat down at the table. Choji smiled and said, "Hey sensei." Asuma smiled and Sakura said, "Well, about a year before our mission Gato killed the hero of Wave by public beheading to show the people of Wave what happens to anyone who stood in his way. The man turned out to be the son-in-law of our client who was building a bridge that once finished would make Gato lose all control over Wave. Anyways, Gato hired a missing nin named Zabuza who had a pair of chunins working for him named the Demon Brothers. Sasuke beat them and Naruto was cut by one of their weapons. Kiba said what a klutz. Much of the shock of everyone, Sakura reached across the table and slapped Kiba on instinct, and Kurenai asked what happened. The demon brothers used poison in their weapons, so tell us, Sakura. Acting like nothing happened, Sakura crossed her arms and said Naruto stabbed himself and bleed the poison out. After that we continued the mission. We ran into Zabuza and Naruto saved Kakashi sensei, and a fake hunter Nin interfered in the fight at the last moment and put Zabuza in a fake death. Kakashi was injured from the fight and chakra exhaustion. After that we took the client to his home and met his family. Kakashi taught us the tree climbing chakra exercise as we got ready to fight Zabuza Ajian. Naruto worked himself into the ground, and the day of the battle of the bridge we left him at the house asleep because of chakra exhaustion. At this all three senseis looked at each other. Sakura continued anyways. When we got to the bridge, Zabuza had knocked out all the workers. Sasuke started to fight the hunter Nin while Kakashi fought Zabuza. I guard the client. Naruto arrived shortly after that, having taken care of two merc that Gato had come to kidnap the client's family. I don't know exactly what happened because of the hidden mist jutsu, but an evil power washed over the bridge that made it hard to breathe, and I thought Sasuke was dead, but the masked Nin had only put him in a fake death like he did Zabuza. Kakashi did something that sounded like birds chirping and went to kill Zabuza, but the hunter Nin took the blow at the last moment. Guy said Chidori, also known as 1000 birds, Kakashi only original jutsu. Continue. Sakura shrugged and said anyways. After the Nin died, Gato appeared with a lot of merc and said he was going to double-cross Zabuza anyways, and Naruto said something to Zabuza, but I was too far away to hear, but I did see Naruto pull out a kunai and toss it to him, which he caught in his teeth since both his arms had kunai in them. Zabuza charged through the men, killing several, and then killed Gato. The merc killed him, and Naruto and Kakashi used cage bunshin to scare the merc away when the villagers showed up. Sasuke woke up and Naruto took the bodies of Zabuza and the hunter Nin and buried them. He said something about befriending them, but I called him an idiot, but with what happened later I guess I was wrong. Everyone was curious and Ino asked what happened. Sakura sighed and said for some reason Naruto started to change after that day. He started training by himself and took Zabuza's sword and learned pressure points. Trust me. He knocked me out a few times. Anyways, he kept complaining Kakashi was playing favorites with Sasuke and somehow he had found Gato base. He wound up walking into an ambush with some of the mercs from the bridge and an IWA Nin named Adeli, White. At this each of the senseis flinched, and Ino asked what's wrong sensei. Asuma sighed and said Adeli White, S-rank missing Nin from IWA, he was called the Maiden Killer. He became a missing Nin after he raped and killed over 200 men, women and children a few years ago. The Kage there had no choice but to make him a missing Nin after he raped one of the clan head's daughter in front of her husband before he killed her and stabbed the husband 20 times and left him to bleed to death. What happened after that, Sakura? Sakura sighed and said Naruto heard how that Adeli guy had planned to attack the client's family while I was guarding them and Naruto was guarding the client at the bridge. Kurenai asked where were Kakashi and Sasuke. Sakura said well, Kakashi took Sasuke every day to train after he awoke his Sharingan. Kurenai cracked her knuckles under the table and said finish the story, Sakura. Sakura nods and said somehow some Nins from Whirlpool came and Naruto killed the IWA Nin, but not before he bragged who Naruto father was. Turned out one of the Nins from Whirlpool was Naruto uncle. Everyone was stunned and Shino said Naruto killed that IWA Nin. Sakura said yeah. His uncle and the other Nins that was with him were too busy fighting the mercs to help, and the IWA Nin wanted Naruto head. He wanted the glory of killing the Yandame's son. Everyone at the table flinched at that. Guy asked are you sure about that? Sakura looked confused and said yes, the Hokage even confirmed it. He looks just like his dad if you think about it. Just add those strange whiskers to the Yandame, and he's the spitting image of him. Asuma asked well, what happened after he killed the IWA Nin? Sakura said well he raided Gato hideout and gave the people of Wave all the money and treasure he found to help them recover minus a few changes of cloths he kept for himself. He came back and him and Kakashi had words Ajian, but I don't know about what. We completed the mission and the people of Wave named the bridge after him. On the way back Naruto had switched places with the cage bunshin and had came back ahead of us. I haven't seen him since, but I know he made it here and left. Kiba said wait a minute, Naruto is the son of the Yandame, killed an S-rank missing Nin. Became a hero of the country and has family from another village. What next? He's engaged to some hot chick and a prince. Giggling could be heard and everyone turned to look at the girl with buns in her hair and Lee asked what's so funny Tenten. Tenten said well dog boy, actually yes on both of those. Everyone said what? Asuma asked what do you mean Tenten? Tenten sighed and said from what I was told when he came in our shop to resupply before he left his mother was the princess of Whirlpool country, and he is engaged to a girl through an arranged marriage. I know who but I can't tell you who she is because I was sworn not to by my father, but apparently his uncle can't take the throne, so when Naruto get old enough he is next in line to be king after his grandparents step down. That's what he said though. Everyone was stunned. Shikamaru sighed and said he's troublesome. Is he going to be back? Tenten said yes, he's supposed to be back for the Chunin exams. I know he's supposed to use his summons to send a message to the Hokage every couple of weeks. Everyone ears picked up and Ino asked what summons does that idiot have. Tenten said all I know is he summoned something called Gambunta 2 times in a row. All the senseis fell out of their chairs at this, making everyone look at them. Asuma stood up and asked, are you sure about that, Tenten? Tenten said yeah. He was bragging to my dad about it though. He said something about some pervert ortha, but I was busy getting his things so I did not hear him too well. Kiba asked what's so special about this summon you all are talking about. How can some pervert make you all beat red like that? Kurenai said the only way for Naruto to get the contract to summon Gambunta is if he were to get permission from the ortha of those perverted Ika books. None other than Jiraiya of the Sanins. Kiba screamed he's getting taught by a Sannin. A white-haired man walked in and said no, I just let him sign the contract, and he passed Gambunta test himself. It's good to see you again, Asuma. Asuma nodded and asked to what do we owe the pleasure of your visit, Jiraiya-sama. All the genins were awed. Jiraiya sighed and said I was actually looking for all the sensei here and I heard you all talking about Naruto so I thought I would see what you were saying. I hate to say it but everything you heard is true. Naruto is the prince of Whirlpool country, and to put it bluntly, after they saw his memories of what his life was to prove who he was, let's just say that Konoha not being destroyed because of about 10 people. As he sat down, Sakura asked what do you mean by that? Why would them looking at his memories make them want to attack Konoha? Jiraiya said I did not say attack, I said destroy and they could do it no problem. As for why they would want to destroy Konoha, the answer is simple. Kyuubi. Each of the sensei flinched and Asuma asked what are you doing, Jiraiya-sama? Jiraiya sighed and said it's part of the reason Konoha is still standing. If Konoha does not want an open war with Whirlpool they have to do certain things. The truth of Naruto heritage must be told. Since you all know about him being the son of the Yondaime and the princess of Whirlpool I don't have to say that. Next, the truth of the Kyuubi defeat has to be told, and Konoha has to make a formal apology to Naruto, as well as admit what they have done. Failure to do all three would result in Konoha destruction. Shikamaru closed his eyes and said it's sealed, ain't it? Making everyone look at him, Jiraiya said smart kid. The truth is Naruto father could not kill Kyuubi so he sacrificed his life to summon the death god to seal Kyuubi into his newborn son. Naruto was made a human sacrifice at nearly 3 hours old so Konoha can survive and Konoha hates him for it. The people of this village have tried to kill him over 2,000 times. Not to mention all the hatred, abuse, torture, starvation, hell they even had all of you be cruel to him, and you never realized it. Sakura asked what do you mean? How did we do anything to him? In shock like all the other rookies. Asuma said how would you feel if everyone your age was told to stay away from you like you were the plague? How would you feel if you said hello to a kid to try and befriend parents tell their kids to beat him up and if he fought back they would have Abno arrest him? How would you feel if the teachers put genjutsu over your test and burned your books so you could not learn and did everything they could to make sure you died? Do you really think he liked orange? Tenten said that's all any store would sell him. Dad told me when he learned who he really was that he had other store owners in the past tell him that if he sold anything to Naruto without the Hokage forcing him they would burn our store to the ground, and he even told me once that a civilian walked up to me at the academy to push me on a swing and his friends were talking to my dad and said that's how easy it would be to hurt me if he did not do as they said. As everyone was stunned, Guy said that's why the only place that would serve him food was the ramen stand because the people would make the same threats, or make him pay 3 times more than everyone else for rotten food. Jiraiya said and the worst part is because of the law the Hokage passed to try and make it where he could try and have a normal life he never knew why he was hated until an academy teacher tricked him into breaking into the Hokage tower and stealing the forbidden scroll by saying he could learn one jutsu on it he would pass the academy test. Truth was he tried to kill Naruto and told him about the law and the Kyuubi inside of him, but he tried to tell him that he was the Kyuubi instead of it being sealed when he saved Iruka who showed up in time to save Naruto and learned Kagebunshin. Ino asked so is that how he passed? He learned Kagebunshin instead of regular bunshins. Jiraiya said he physically can't make regular bunshin, at least not yet. He would have to get his chakra control to perfect to be able to make regular ones because of the fox in him. Everyone was stunned and Kurenai asked so do any of you think he is the Kyuubi, or the hero his father wanted him to be seen as? Shino said he is just like my clan. Our bugs live in us but they are different than us. Everyone thought about that, and they all had to agree. Sakura asked is the Kyuubi that weird feeling I felt on the bridge? Asuma said yes, the seal was made so Naruto can use the Kyuubi chakra and when Naruto dies so does the fox. Besides the chakra Naruto has a healing factor that is like 10x faster than a normal person and from what we can tell his children if he had any would most likely have it also. But that's just a guess because no Jinchuriki has ever had children. People always kill them before they're old enough to. Naruto said that he was pulled into the seal and faced the fox and told him that he had to pay rent by giving him chakra when he asked for it, or he would find some way to kill himself and take the fox with him. Shikamaru asked now that we know the truth about why Naruto is hated here why would Konoha be scared enough of a country I have never heard of to admit this? It does not make sense. Jiraiya sighed and said the reason you have not heard about Whirlpool is they try and stay out of the rest of the world's affairs and because of that Whirlpool is the oldest of the hidden villages as well as the strongest and most secretive. During the Second Ninja War IWA tried to go there, and get them to aid in fighting against us. The king, who is Naruto's grandfather, refused, and an IWA nin tried to blackmail the king into doing it by trying to kidnap Naruto's uncle. His uncle, named Sherlock Uzumaki, went to the capital of IWA and destroyed half of the village in less than a day and killed nearly 1/5 of Iwa's ninja. They sent a simple message to each of the hidden villages after that. Leave us out of your fight, or the next village won't be standing. Until I went there following Naruto to make sure he made it safely and that this was not a trap. We did not even know the name of that one ninja or that he was Naruto's uncle. Naruto's mother kept who she was a secret to everyone. All we knew was that she was from Whirlpool. Each of us who fought in the war heard about that attack, but without a name knew who he was that did it, and no one who saw him lived. Everyone was either stunned or scared when they heard this. Jiraiya said the heir to the throne of Whirlpool has to take a test, but the test is one that can't be cheated on. The people of the country all watch the heir's entire life and then vote if they want him or her to rule over them, and Naruto was given the test, and they saw everything that has happened to Naruto. That is why all the clans are protecting Naruto. Fear scared that if anyone hurts him the entire village would be destroyed. Niji asked why would Naruto's uncle not take the throne instead of him. Jiraiya said simple, remember the test I told you where they saw his memories? He stopped at the scene where he destroyed part of the capital of IWA. He said that he could not in good conscience leave the village after killing so many. He is a special jounin. It's not him the council is scared of though. Everyone over the age of 15 are at least jounin level in the village, including civilians, and there are about as many people in Their village as there are in Konoha. Based on one ninja, the rest of the world is scared of Whirlpool. Imagine what the rest are like. Shikamaru sighed and said it's too troublesome to say, but I think we all see Naruto different. Everyone was in Their thoughts, and Ino said who would have thought that a secret like this would be hidden from us. Jiraiya sighed and said I should warn you that when Naruto returns he will be different. He has been through this torture his whole life, and then discover who his parents are from an enemy ninja when no one in his home village would tell him, and then to learn that he had family out there that if they would have known about him would have protected him from what he's been through. He is going to be different. Shikamaru asked what is the real reason that the people of Whirlpool wanted everyone in the village to know the truth of Naruto. Surely they think that this would make some people hate him more. Jiraiya looked at Shikamaru as everyone else looked at him and said, you're smarter than most think. You're right, the truth is Naruto now has immense political power because of him being confirmed Prince of Whirlpool. Naruto, even though everything that has happened, still wants to protect those who are precious to him and have been kind to him, and there are less than 20 that are included in that. The king respects that and has given Konoha a chance with two options. One, Naruto will be represented as a ninja of both the Hidden Leaf Village and Whirlpool that both villages can be proud of and work toward a possible treaty, or the second is after everyone knows the entire truth. If Konoha chooses to ignore the warning they have been given, the people of Whirlpool will have no problem killing everyone with the exception of those close to Naruto. The king told me that the law that I told you about that limited your knowledge as to what was the truth is what helped give Konoha the chance to keep from fighting. His exact words were, parents always want to see their children surpass them. The choices that will affect the future will be determined by the actions of his peers. He does not want people to instantly befriend his grandson but treat him as an equal like he should have been from the start. Niji stood up and said his fate was decided the moment he was born. If people are going to hate him, then there is no way he can change his fate. This threat is nothing and people will do as they please. As he left and the others all looked at him and a few shook their heads. Ino asked, what do you think, forehead? Sakura said, I don't know. With everything that happened and with everything I have learned, I don't understand. Shikamaru sighed and said it too troublesome to hate him for that, and I say we should try and get to know him better. Choji said anyone who eats ramen like him is a good person, making everyone snicker. Kiba said he's an idiot. I don't care if he has the QB in him or not. I will still kick his ass. Right, boy. As he rubbed Akamaru's head as they got up and left, Hinata looked down and said, I'm scared of him now. In a stutter, shocking everyone because of her devotion to him in the past. Kurenai looked disappointed in Hinata and said, Hinata, how can you be scared of him? What is the difference between the guy you said you love and who he is? The only thing different is that you now know what's inside him. Hinata looked up and said, I guess you're right. I don't know, Sensei. Shino said, as I said, he is no different than my clan. We are not our bug and our bugs are not us. As he pushes his glasses up, Ino said it don't matter, he won't ever be as good as Sasuke-kun. As she crossed her arms and got up and left, Shino sighed and got up and left, finding the way people think illogical. Choji said, come on Shika, let's go watch some clouds. Shikamaru said, troublesome. As he got up and left with him, Sakura did not know what to think as she got up to try and sort through everything. Lee said, I think that it is unyouthful to look at someone whose flames burn brightly like that. As he got up and left, all the senseis looked at each other and Jiraiya said, your friends are doing fine, 10-10. In fact, I was asked to give this to you. As he pulled out a scroll and handed it to her, all the senseis were curious and she opened it and laughed as she read it and said, if you send a message back to them, tell them I said we will see. As she got up with a smile on her face and left. When she was gone, Asuma put his cig out and said, what was that about Jiraiya-sama? Jiraiya sighed and said that was a test to see how they would react to the truth. I lied about the truth to them, and I cast a jutsu on this table when I walked up to it. The only ones who will remember what happened will be you three. At the moment I walked up and started to talk, everything that was said after that will be forgotten by them the moment they left this building. It's a jutsu Tsunade came up with during the war to help get info without our enemies remembering we had it. You are all to act like after they learn Naruto was to be king after his grandfather stepped down. They will forget everything about Kyuubi, the threat to Konoha and Naruto uncle. Guy said, why did you do that if I may ask Jiraiya-sama? Jiraiya sighed and said, I wanted to see their reaction to the news and let you as well. I thought as their senseis you might be able to help change those views. Kurenai asked, are they really planning on destroying Konoha like you said? Jiraiya sighed and said, as far as I know, not unless provoked. However, that's not the reasons the clans are supporting Naruto now. The reason they are is because of the fact that the king had the Hokage announce Naruto parents. Everything else you heard are for you to know and wait. The only one who will remember beside you is Tenten, who befriended Naruto, so make sure you tell her not to mention anything else after I walked up. Guy said I will get right on it. And left. Asuma sighed and said, so the clans are protecting Naruto because of who his parents are, huh? Jiraiya said yes. They think if they can get on Naruto's good side they might be able to get an alliance with Whirlpool, or at least that's what the Hyuga want. The moment they get it they will turn on him. The Ino, Shiko, Cho group want to do it because Naruto is the son of the Yondaime, and they have not actually hated him. If the blonde could get her head out of the Uchihas, as she would probably be like her teammates in believing the way their parents do. The Inuzuka clan are supporting him because they don't want to be singled out for not supporting him. Shino family is the most logical of the group, and your dad has never made it secret that he protects Naruto. Kurenai sighed and said, I'm disappointed in Hinata. I never knew she would be shallow like that. Asuma said, I think all of our female students are with the exception of that Tenten girl. She knows more than she lets on. I noticed she was the least surprised of everyone. Jiraiya sighed and said, remember this. All your students remember is Naruto is a prince now and is engaged now and will be back for the exams, and he's had his first kill along with him being the Yondaime's son. Everything else is forgotten, so don't slip. Not even the council knows. Kakashi knows, but he feels like a failure, so he won't say anything. I got to go. CYA. And left. Flashback end. Sakura still could not remember what happened after they learned Naruto was a prince. It was like everything was blank until she walked outside the restaurant after that. Similar thoughts were going in the head of the other genins, but they figured if it was not worth remembering then it was not worth checking out. Each had talks with their parents trying to find out why, and when they learned their parents wanted to ally with Whirlpool they felt it was a shallow reason, so none would actually change what they thought of Naruto that much. Sure, it was shocking to learn he killed, but they were all ninja and it was part of the job. Being heirs to prominent clans just made them feel that Naruto was an equal to them. Back with Naruto. The week of reading had came and gone, and Naruto learned a great many things. One thing he learned would become very useful when fighting a Sharingan. Naruto was currently sitting on the ground under a tree with Haku laying her head on his lap. She looked dead tired when she walked in, and Naruto asked if she was okay. Her answer was a soft kiss and falling asleep moments later. Naruto sighed and leaned against the tree when he saw his grandparents walk up together. Naruto smiled and said hello. Rune smiled and said hello Naruto. Allow me to introduce your grandmother Rina. Rina smiled and said hello Naruto. How are you today? Naruto said I'm pretty good. I learned a lot from the books and scrolls this week. How are you? Rina sat down and said I'm doing fine. Listen Naruto, I know you have a lot of questions you want answered, so your grandfather and I would like to try and answer them. Go ahead and ask anything. Naruto thought and asked, what did you tell the Hokage since you said you sent word to him? Rune said with a frown, business first. Oh well? We sent word to him that you were our grandson and the next in line for the crown. Many of the clans have vowed to protect you, but we know it's just to get on your good side. Humans still want to be powerful. Haku stirred and asked, what about our future duties? As she sat up and leaned against Naruto, still feeling tired, Rune said, as you both know that neither of you will become king and queen until you are married and have an heir. After that you will have to follow the rules that are listed in our lawbook that you will see when you are ready to take the throne. Before that all you have to do is live your life. Haku smiled and asked, Naruto uncle said something about Naruto might have to have more than one wife. How does that work? Rina said, as you have been told, the female of all kitsune families have complete control in the matters of the love life and childcare. As such it will be your choice if Naruto will have more than one wife. Know this. You will be first queen if you let him have more than one, but including you there can only be 2 others. The secrets I told you will have to remain secrets. Haku nods and Naruto asked, so what was my mother like? Both of his grandparents laughed and Rune said she was free-spirited and had a disrespect for authority. Something I see you do as well. Rina asked Haku, if you don't mind me asking. Why did you ask about the multiple wives? Is there someone else you're thinking about? Everyone turned and a male voice said Tenten. That's who she was thinking about. As everyone turned and saw Zabuza coming with a girl around Naruto age, think Temari with white hair and green eyes and a sword on her back. Haku jumped up and ran over to her father figure and hugged Zabuza, and Naruto smiled and said, it's good to see you, Aegean Zabuza. How are you? Zabuza chuckled and said, I am great. I have never felt as good as I do now. By the way, I'm a dragon now. Rune cleared his throat and said, allow me to introduce your personal bodyguard Haku. This is Trinity, daughter of Aragon, who is the leader of the dragons. She is a lightning dragon. Zabuza, from what I have been told, is a water dragon now. I should also tell you that when you return to Konoha, Zabuza is your new sensei and Trinity here is your new teammate, and as much as it pains me to say it, you are all going to be a joint Konoha/Whirlpool ninja team. I have been sending messages to Konoha to the Hokage, who has been sending back messages to me, and we are going to work with a temporary alliance, as long as no harm comes to any of you from the people of Konoha. Haku bowed and said, it's a pleasure to meet you, Trinity, and stuck out her hand. Trinity looked at Haku and grabbed her by the wrist and sliced it with her nails and sliced her own wrist and put them together and said, it's a pleasure to meet you as well, Lady Haku. Now that our blood has mixed, we will be able to talk silently in our head. As she pulled her wrist away and everyone saw both wounds heal, leaving no scar, Naruto raised an eyebrow and asked, does everyone here have Kyuubi's healing power? Rina chuckled and said, Naruto, you are under the wrong impression there. The healing factor you have is not from your uncle but your own. All you actually got from the seal was more chakra from your uncle. Zabuza asked him, sorry to interrupt, but there is something that has bothered me ever since I first met Naruto uncle. From what I heard, nothing could hurt his uncle in his fox form. How is that possible? Trinity said, none of you know of the elemental shield yet. With surprise in her voice, Rune said, no. I had Naruto learning the history of our kingdom, and Zabuza and Haku both were getting used to their new body since their old ones were dead. I was planning on having you all learn that while training over the next couple of months. Trinity said, then we have our work cut out from us. Father wanted me to tell you that sword will be ready within a week. Rune nods and said, Zabuza, since Naruto has your old sword, I had one of our best blacksmith here make you another one just like your old one, except it will allow you to use your dragon powers. Your old one is being fixed and also enhanced so Naruto can use his kitsune skills. Now to answer your question, Zabuza. We have come up over time many jutsu that other villages could only dream of. One is called the elemental shield. Basically it's a jutsu that lets any element you have mastered into a shield of sorts. You see, when we activate this jutsu, it takes only about as much chakra as a henge, but say you have mastered elemental training of fire and use this jutsu. Any fire damage will not affect you and make you immune to fire until you either run out of chakra or 24 hours, whichever happens first. The more elements you have mastered, the more that you are protected from, so basically all the jutsu they used agents Naruto uncle were useless unless they were non-elemental, since he mastered 9 elements. As for physical damage, we have another jutsu that's like the Hyuga ultimate defense, and it surrounds our body with chakra and deflects physical damage, but like I said, this one lasts only for 24 hours also, or until you run out of chakra, but this one uses about as much chakra as water walking, and the more it deflects the more it uses. Currently I say Naruto could last maybe about 4 hours with both jutsu. Zabuza would be about 4 as well, and Haku would be about 2 hours because she does not have as much chakra as either of you, and I am unsure about how long Trinity could because her father kept her training secret. Naruto thought for a moment and asked, I know fire, wind, water, lighting, earth, and ice. What are the other elements? Rina said plant, metal, dark, and light. Haku said, but that is 10 elements, and Naruto uncle only master 9. Rune said, you're right. He had yet to learn light. Right now Naruto and Haku both are about halfway to being master of the elements, wind, water, and ice. Until you reach 6 tails you won't be able to use the jutsu your uncle did because you need the 5 main elements to use it, and you both only have 2 main elements, and they are not mastered yet. That is why you are both 3-tailed kitsunes. 1 tail for each element that you have unlocked. Naruto said, so that's how we get more tails. I was wondering about that. Haku thought and asked, do I need to learn any weapon training seeing as everyone else on our team has a sword? Rina said, that is up to you. Anyways, this week is for you each to learn to work as a team and learn what each other can do. If you have any question, my husband and I will watch and answer them for you. Zabuza smiled and said, okay kiddies, you heard them. Let's start by having a spar. Taijutsu only and everyone for themselves. Begin. And faster than most could track, he punched Naruto in the stomach, sending him flying backwards. Rune and Rina both watched all 4 get into a fight, and Rune asked his wife in a quiet voice so no one could hear, do you think that he is going to be able to live out there now that the world knows his origins? Rina sighed and said, no. It appears that what we feared is approaching after all. It won't be long until it's all over. Humanity is ready to destroy itself. Rune looked down and said, yes. From what Jiraiya said, this group that wants the tailed beast will be moving soon. I hate to say it, but our grandson might be the only one who can save the world. You know what happens if the balance is broken. Rina let a tear fall down her cheek and said he should not be the one cursed with this. If only I could do it. Rune sighed, I know. Time flew by for Naruto, as he lived happily in the land of Whirlpool. He no longer was the idiot he once was. Now he had come a long way in every possible way, including social skills. Him and Haku have gotten closer and when not training are usually seen together. He now was standing at 6 foot tall and weighed around 145 pounds. His cloths were now a pair of black Jounin-style pants with 4 holsters, a blue ANBU-style vest loaded with scrolls and a pair of leather gloves with a metal spike plates across the knuckles along with his sword across his back, except now it had a kitsune standing proudly on it with a crown on its head. Across his face he wore a face mask like Kakashi, but it had the picture of a fox mouth ready to attack. Haku herself had also increased in skills. The training she went through forced her mind and body to become the body of a perfect assassin, agile, swift, deadly, and her beauty was unmatched by nearly all. She now wore a blue pair of Chunin pants with 3 holsters and a red Chinese shirt similar to Tenten, but she also had a Chunin-style vest, but on the back she had a vixen. On her hips she had a pair of sayas. Zabuza himself had become a trusted member of the Dragon Knights, and as Naruto's personal bodyguard his skills showed just how strong he was. He now had a new sword that looked just like his old one, but it was red and had a blue water dragon on it. Besides that, his cloths were the same as before, but now he had a cloak that was black and had the official symbol of Whirlpool with a dragon and a kitsune circling each other, but the kitsune had a crown on its head. As for the final member of the team, Trinity, she had become the best of friends to Haku and Naruto. She was a trusted advisor and confidant when the need arises. She was now dressed like similar to Haku, as her pants were black as was her shirt, but on her back there was a red dragon breathing black flames. She had a bow staff across her back. Sadly for the team, all good things had to come to an end, and it was time to return to Konoha. As they walked toward the gates of Konoha, and Haku was holding Naruto's hand and said, "So are you ready for this?" Naruto snorts and said, "If I wasn't ready for this, it's too late now. Besides, I think our team is the best we could be." Trinity said, "Don't let your ego or pride blind you, Naruto-sama." Naruto sighed and said, "It's not pride or ego. I just have faith in our skills. I mean, we each have improved ourselves to the point I feel that nothing short of a team of jounins could actually hurt us. However, I am not going to believe that we are unbeatable. I think Zabuza's final lesson should point that out." Zabuza chuckled and said, "Hey, it's not my fault the entire 12 Dragon Knights decided to test you 3 all at once." Naruto winced and said, "Don't remind me. The only time I ever got my ass kicked worse than that was when Kakashi did the 1,000 years of death on me." Haku smirked and said, "But it was so much fun playing doctor afterwards, wasn't it, Naruto-kun?" Naruto sighed and said, "Erohime. You're just saying that because you had to rub the burn cream across my body from that final combined attack." Trinity said, "It was your own fault for threatening to freeze my father's balls off, and you know it, Naruto-sama." With a smirk, Naruto sighed and said, "I did not know it was an insult to a fire dragon to talk about freezing anything off. Had I known, I would have done it first and ran later." With his own smirk, Trinity sighed and said, "You still have a lot to learn, Naruto-sama." Naruto nods and said, "That's why I value you, counsel Trinity." Haku smiled and said, "Well, there's the gates." Naruto smirked and said, "Let's go." As he led the team toward the gates, the Chunin guards at the gate looked at the 3 approaching people and said, "Halt. State your name and reason for coming to Konoha." Naruto smirked and said, "SMTse SJSLKKS." It was causing all 3 of the people with him to laugh. The Chunin said, "What was that?" Naruto sighed and said, "I'm Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze, and this is my team from Whirlpool. We came here to take the Chunin exams." The guards went wide-eyed and said, "Right, Namikaze-sama, please go on it. The Hokage wanted to see you when you arrived." Naruto nods and walks into the village with his team, and Haki giggled and said, "You just had to say that, didn't you, Naruto-kun?" Naruto said, "What?" "I told the truth. I've got to take a piss." As he walked toward the Hokage tower, Zabuza said, "You know, there are times I wonder if he's serious or not." As they continued to walk, inside the Hokage tower, the third was in a meeting and said, "So let me hear who you nominate for the Chunin exams." Kurenai stepped forward and said, "I nominate Team 8. Asuma said, "I nominate Team 10. Guy said, "I nominate Team 9. Kakashi frowns and asked, "Is there any word on Naruto?" The third said, "No." Kakashi nods and said, "I nominate Team 7. Just then a knock was heard on the door, and the third said, "Enter." The door opened and everyone looked as 4 people walked in, and Kakashi quickly pulled out a kunai, shocking everyone, only to receive a fist in the gut from Naruto, making everyone wide-eyed because no one saw him move. Naruto said, "Now Kakashi team, mind explaining why you threatened me and my team when we walked in the door with your weapons?" In a commanding and cold voice, Kakashi was gasping for breath as he looked at the person whose fist was in his gut, and he said, "How?" As he fell to his knees, the third said, "Who are you and why have to attack one of my jounins?" Naruto stepped back and reached for his face mask and pulled it down, and said, "Team Whirlpool reporting for the Chunin exams." Trinity said, "Smooth, my prince, you just floored a jounin." As she shook her head with her hand on her face, Naruto said, "Considering his actions could have been considered an act of war, I say he got off easy." As he pulled his mask back up, the third said, "So I see you have returned, Naruto." Naruto nods and said, "Yes, allow me to introduce my team. This is Trinity, Haku, and Zabuza." The third frowned and said, "Zabuza Momochi. I thought you died." Zabuza said, "I did." With a smirk, Kakashi, who was standing up, and said, "And you? I put a Chidori through your heart." Haku said, "Yeah, and it hurts like hell." The third said, "Okay, Naruto, how exactly are 2 dead shinobi alive here?" Naruto shrugged and said, "Sorry, secret of the royal family of Whirlpool." Kakashi frowned and started to say something when Naruto ignored him and said, "So what do we need to do to get register? We had a long trip back and a little tired." The third said, "Right, your apartment has been." Naruto said, "We will find our own place to stay then." My so-called apartment wasn't big enough for 2 people, so 4 won't be able to fit. The third frowned and said, I see. Well then please take these forms and go to room 301 tomorrow at noon. Naruto took the forms and handed them to his teammates, as he formed an ice mirror and stepped in and disappeared. Haku did the same. Zabuza disappeared in a swirl of water and Trinity disappeared in a swirl of black flames. After they were gone, the third frowned and looked at the faces of everyone there in his office, and said, what just happened does not leave this office. Kakashi, I want you to follow them and try to find out what has happened to Naruto to change him so much. Also try and find out how 2 deceased people are back in the land of the living. I want answers. Kakashi nods, still holding his stomach, and leaves in a swirl of leaves. Irika, who was in the office, thought, what has happened to you, Naruto? Naruto and his team were walking toward a hotel when Naruto stopped, and said, so do you think they fell for it? Trinity said yes. Kakashi is already following us. Naruto nods and said, good, we have to warn Konoha about it. As he went toward the Green Leaf Hotel, Kakashi followed by rooftops and saw them go into the hotel. He waited a few moments until he saw Zabuza walk out on a balcony, and then after a few moments walked back inside. Kakashi jumped to where the balcony was and put his back to the wall, channeling chakra to his ears until he felt a kunai on his neck, and he turned and saw Zabuza standing there, and he said, come inside, we need to talk. As he pulled the kunai away, Kakashi frowns and follows Zabuza inside and saw Naruto, Haku, Trinity, all sitting down, and he asked, so how did you get the drop on me? Naruto said, I was hinged into Zabuza and he hinged into a kunai that I dropped on the balcony. We knew you would be sent to follow us, having faced most of us before, so we needed a way to talk to you out of the Hokage office. Kakashi frowned and asked why. Naruto said, war? Kakashi raised an eyebrow and asked, what do you mean? Naruto sighed and said, Trinity, if you would. Trinity nods and said, once we heard about the organization known as Akatsuki were going to be coming after the prince here, His Majesty sent out spies to each of the villages looking for information. While they did not find much on that group, they did find a threat that could harm the prince. It looks as if Orochimaru is planning an attack on the Leaf Village during the Chunin exams with the aid of Suna. Kakashi went wide-eyed and asked, so why not tell the Hokage? Naruto said, we can't. Orochimaru has several spies in the village, including an entire genin team. We don't know who, but since most of the teams were there, odds are that one of the sensei that was there works for Orochimaru. We made it look like I still hate your guts, so that way perhaps Orochimaru will come to us offering me a chance for revenge so we can get more info. Kakashi frowns and said, I see. Was that the only reason you punched me? Naruto said, no. Killing my fiancé, abandoning me, and being an ass was a good reason for me to punch you. To do it for a responsible reason was a bonus. With a smile, Kakashi sighs and said, look Naruto, Naruto held his hand up and said, it's over Kakashi, you didn't give a shit about me back then, so forget it. I'm not the same idiot I was back then, and I don't take anyone's shit. Those who abandon their teammates are worse than trash. I guess hoping your teammate gets killed from neglect falls into that category. I wonder if Sakura is still alive or if your favoritism has gotten her killed. I sure hope you got your favorite student ready for the exams, because if I face him, his life in this village is over. Tell him I know the Uchiha clan secret, and I will reveal it to everyone. When I do, this village will turn on him like they did me. Now I grow tired of you, so please leave. In a calm, commanding voice, Kakashi frowned and left in a swirl of leaves. Haku looked at Naruto and asked, do you feel better now? Naruto said, actually, yes. Zabuza shook his head and said, well, you basically just busted his balls. Naruto shrugged and said, you already saw what he was like to me, so I know you understand. I know it's not very royal of me to act like that, but every time I see his face I remember him telling me he couldn't teach me anything because he did not want to overpower the team, and when I asked why Sasuke got special treatment he looked at me like I was stupid. Trinity frowned and said, remember your promise, Naruto-sama. Naruto nods and said, I know. I will give them a clean slate after the finals, but until then he. Kakashi appeared in the Hokage office and the third raised an eyebrow and said that was fast. Kakashi then proceeded to tell the third what he was told, and the third said, very well. I trust you not to tell anyone else, and I will deal with this information. Thank you for bringing it to me. Kakashi nods, and after he leaves, the third thought, this is bad, with the trouble with Whirlpool and Orochimaru showing up. I need to have A and B. You keep an eye on the Whirlpool team for their safety.